shoulder shrug. This story will be treated as a one-off, as, oh, that's terrible what those people did in that situation. But that has nothing to do with what happens in my school or my school district. You're wrong. You're just wrong if you think that these are isolated incidents and they don't speak to a larger cultural problem in government K through 12 in America.
But CPS does such a good job of...
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
CPS does a good job of protecting their own. I know of a JV girls basketball coach who was having a sexual relationship. Did you see his name on the Tribune? Front page? Was he going viral? Was he on Reddit? Was it? No, because they don't tell the media about this stuff. You need to have whistleblowers that come forward to say who they are and to make sure that they were properly, at least criminally charged.
You know of a JV coach who is having a sexual relationship with a minor in CPS?
He was accused of it. I don't know whatever happened at the end of the investigation. Accused of it.
Oh, well,
and kids can come
accusations,
up and right.
Well, accusations need to be investigated. There are false accusations too, so let's not conflate the two.
Trust me, I know. But he was gone from the school. He was not. He was taken out of his position as a coach right away, immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
but don't worry, I'm still investigating.
Well, it's what you just said. The CPS is good at protecting their own. It's what that woman in Littleton said as well. That describing the collaboration and the reporting on it, describing the collaboration of all the adults. They're happy to protect their own at the expense of your kids. Now, that's a general statement. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying there's a cultural problem in government schools. The research has suggested it for decades. The data continues to pile up in support of the research, and yet I don't hear a lot about it, and I don't hear the sort of public response that you would expect, that you would get with almost any other institution that had this high an incidence of child exploitation. It just continues to sort of baffle me. So protective of our sort of local schools, sort of root for the home team to a insane degree, which is why we get the same sort of response. This is my hypothesis. We get the same sort of response when you expose the fact that, the great suburban schools, or you think they're great. Actually, you want to start looking at some test results? You want to look at some reading and math proficiencies in Barrington and on the North Shore, in the Western Burbs? No, we don't. We don't. It's a great school. It's a great school. It's a great school. It's a great school. If I just repeat that 3 times and click my heels, it will continue to be a great school.
Well, I'm guilty of that. 'Cause your kids go to school there. We couldn't get them in anywhere else. And truth be told, I do love the teachers there. I've never had any problems with them. I love the security staff. I miss them every day. They were my coworkers for 7 years. But there's things that are wrong with every school. But you have to, as a parent, I'm speaking right now as a parent, not as an employee, you have to keep up the front that everything's okay. No, this is going to be great. You're going to do well. This is a great school, because you can't tell them the truth otherwise. What are you going to tell them? The school you're going to stinks and their math scores, they're scoring at 8%. But you can be different. And I told them that you can be a big fish in a small pond and in a broken pond. And that's what my kids did. One graduated first in his class and got IB experience and credits at Georgia Tech. It was, for us, the system worked because we made it work.
Yeah, well, again, as I've said before, CPS, you could close down all the schools tomorrow, and the number of kids that go on to college and success would be about the same because of the family's involvement in their education. It has very little to do with the system. You could Khan Academy their way to college and beyond, and not need the bricks and mortar and the sports teams and everything else. Now, you want to do that, that's fine. But just understand what we're putting in and what we're getting out and the collateral damage along the way. This is not about this. ruining your child's innocence. I mean, this is about how things are. And the problem in the system is not children's innocence. The problem in the system is cowardly adults. And not to mention cowardly adults who are also ideologically driven, which, of course, CPS is rotten with. And when you're ideologically driven, you've got a lesbian teacher having an inappropriate relationship with a kid. But, that's all courant. Mrs. Kearney helps kids explore their sexuality. Isn't she great? She's a good friend of mine. We have, a smoke in the teacher's lounge. Whatever. There's a massive problem there, and most people want to avert their eyes. They're just so committed to this idea that they've never made a mistake, that they've never made a misjudgment, that they're not putting their kids in harm's way, rather than looking at things how they are. And our job is to pull back the curtain and at least try to get some people to hear and see things for how they are. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to Jamie Dimon. Boy, the J.P. Morgan employee town hall got a little chippy. It's at 5:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
3 degrees above here in Chicago at 5:33. An Indiana teen is under arrest for plotting a school shooting. Today, Valentine's Day. Here's Fox's Gary Baumgartner.
Cops say 18-year-old Trinity Shockley planned to shoot up Mooresville 7th anniversary of the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, that claimed 17 lives. Shockley is well known in Mooresville. She was hit by a drunk driver while on her way to school in 2022, leading to a community fundraising drive to help her pay her medical bills. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Authorities learned of the plot Tuesday when someone called an FBI tip line. Vice President J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Conference in Germany, meeting NATO leaders, beginning with NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte.
I want to talk about NATO, in particular the President's desire to see NATO spend a little bit more resources on defense. And I know that's something Secretary General Rutte agrees with me on. We're going to talk, of course, about the Ukraine-Russia conflict and how to bring it to a negotiated settlement.
Vice President Vance set to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky later today. Fireworks at a Capitol Hill hearing over Elon Musk's new Department of Government Efficiency. Republicans defending moves to eliminate overspending, which they say has been growing for decades.
D.C. politicians and too many obstinate bureaucrats have coordinated to create what is essentially the largest money laundering scheme in history.
Texas Congressman Michael Cloud, and this morning, more than 200,000 federal employees may soon be let go by the Trump administration. The Office of Personnel Management has advised federal agencies to terminate probationary employees. By the way, federal workers can be on probation for up to 2 years before any civil service job protections begin. 2 convicted murderers have been put to death in Florida and Texas. In Florida, James Dennis Ford was executed by lethal injection for killing a young couple in 1997. About an hour later, the state of Texas executed 46-year-old Richard Lee Tabler for murdering 4 in 2004. Several members of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration are being forced out. The mayor's office announcing that Aviation Commissioner Jamie Ray, along with Civilian Office of Police Accountability Chief Andrea Kirsten, were retiring. The mayor warned of mass firings this week.
If you ain't with us, you just got to go. So now I'm in a position now where I'll be making some decisions in the days to come, because playing nice with other people who ain't about us, it's just a waste of exercise.
Many on the city council feel Kirsten should have been relieved of duties long ago for her anti-police opinions. Rhea just embarked on a multi-billion-dollar project at O'Hare, angering Alderman Brian Hopkins.
The mayor's team specifically reached out to her when the news hit about the mayor's comments that if you're not with us, you're against us and you have to go. And she was told those comments did not apply to her.
Also leaving is Jose Torrado, director of the 911 Center, the OEMC. He'll head for a new job at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Indiana State Police have issued an arrest warrant after seeing a video of a dog being transported unsecured in an open trailer. The wanted driver is now in custody. 37-year-old Eric McClinton of Lake County, Indiana, arrested yesterday. The man who took the video spotted the dog Tuesday while traveling on eastbound 8094 near Calumet Avenue in Hammond. White Sox adding two-time All-Star Joey Gallo. The 31-year-old spent last season with the Nationals. The Bulls have finally reached the All-Star break. Rookie forward Matsas Bazelis will participate in the dunk contest tomorrow night. We're watching a little bit of hockey. The NHL is off for the Four Nations tournament in Canada, and the USA blew out Finland last night, 6-1. The news is a service of Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecast.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
We respect people of all faiths and no faiths. That's what America's about. But we have to have the ability to live out our faith in the public square. That is what our Constitution protects, and that's what the government should be affirming every single day.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill. Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Why do so many companies count on Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating? Consistent high level of quality, an ISO certified and A2LA accredited heat treating, electroplating, fastener sorting, and packaging job shop. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating meets and exceeds client specifications. Whether a high volume or a small production run, their processes ensure a job well done. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this year, they specialize in metal fasteners and stampings for automotive and other industries. And with a newly expanded sorting department, there are many sorting and packaging options to meet your needs. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating serves customers in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Tennessee, with easy access to all forms of transportation from an automated facility in Riverdale, Illinois, just 15 minutes southwest of Chicago. Want consistent quality? Call Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating, 708-849-2050, or visit riverdalePHT.com.
Do you hear that?
Hear what?
It sounds like crickets.
Oh, that? Yeah, I brought a big bag of crickets with me.
Why, Ben?
Well, we're talking about the new and improved M100 motorized sectional at Penny Mustard today, right?
Yes.
And just yesterday, I overheard you telling Arvid that the M100 sectional was indescribable.
That's true. Words won't do it justice.
And you told Nicole anyone who reclines in the M100 sectional is flabbergasted.
It's awe-inspiring. If there was a Mount Rushmore of sectionals, the M100 would take all 4 spots.
So to maximize the impact of the M100's ability to cause reverent silence...
You brought crickets?
Yes.
To work?
Of course.
I'm speechless.
Obviously.
The M100 sectional sofa, starting at just $700 a month, with only 1 penny down and no interest until August of 2026, through February 23rd at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing. So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out like little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting-edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
542 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com. Fuller Park neighborhood. Told you about that massive fire at 44th and South Wentworth. That fire has been struck out, but the building did collapse. Dan Ryan Express lanes inbound, jamming up at 33rd. The Stevenson slows up Harlem to Central, all due to an earlier accident. The rest of the expressways and toll roads are off on time. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Partly sunny this morning, becoming cloudy late in the day. Snow showers arrive around 5:30, 6 p.m. in time for the afternoon rush, and a high of 26. 2 to 4 inches of snow in the forecast. Overnight, low of 24. Cloudy, not as cold. Bit of snow tomorrow, high 34. Right now, 4 above at O'Hare, 6 above at Midway, 5 below in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just as my empathy reservoir was near dry over federal workers being compelled to return to work, fill up those offices that we're paying for, we get hit with employees at J.P. Morgan also being compelled to work their 5-day work week from the office. This has apparently been a bit of a back and forth between management, starting with J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon, and employees. They launched a petition, online petition, to urge Jamie Dimon to reconsider the 5-day return to office policy. They didn't want to lose their hybrid work arrangements. And in this employee town hall they had this week, Jamie Dimon was asked about that. He said, "Don't waste time on it. I don't care how many people sign that fracking petition," though he didn't say fracking.
I'm sure he didn't.
Yeah. Here's more of the highlights. Now, Jamie Dimon is not, in it, please, not a heroic figure. I am not a, well, it's not even a bit about being a fan. I'm highly suspicious of Wall Street titans. Jamie Dimon, who I've followed for a long time, very politically promiscuous, very smart, very successful, very politically promiscuous, and people with that sort of economic and cultural power, I ascribe a higher responsibility to be more principled than Jamie Dimon has been. So this is not fanboy stuff for Jamie Dimon. I just want to make that clear. But it is interesting because I think this is happening in a lot more workplaces than just at the Trump level in the federal government, at big banks, too. So, bringing in the rest of us as we're supposed to fixate our attention on federal workers and their plight. Here's Jamie Dimon.
A lot of you were on the Zoom, and you were doing the following, okay? Looking at your mail, sending texts to each other about where the other person is, okay? Not paying attention, not reading your stuff, and if you don't think that slows down efficiency, creativity, creates rudeness and stuff, it does, okay? And when I found out that people are doing that, you don't do that in my damn meetings. You go to a meeting with me, you got my attention, you got my focus, I don't bring my damn phone, I'm not sending texts to people, okay? It simply doesn't work. And it doesn't work for creativity. It slows down decision making. And don't give me the that work from home Friday works. I call a lot of people on Friday. They're not a damn person to get a hold of. But here are the problems, okay? And they are substantial, okay? Which is the young generation is being damaged by this. That means they may or may not be in your particular staff, but they are being left behind. They're being left behind socially, ideas, meeting people. In fact, my guess is most of you live in communities a hell of a lot less diverse than this room. Every area should be looking to be 10% more efficient. If I was running a department of 100 people, I guarantee you, if I wanted to, I could run it with 90 and be more efficient. I guarantee you. I could do it in my sleep. And the notion, these bureaucracies, I need more people, I can't get it done. No, because you're filling out requests that don't need to be done. Your people are going to meetings they don't need to go to. Someone told me to approve some of his wealth management that they had to go to 14 committees. I am dying to get the name of the 14 committees. And I feel like firing 14 chairmen of committees. I can't stand it anymore. Now, you have a choice. You don't have to work at J.P. Morgan. So the people of you who don't want to work at the company, that's fine with me. I'm not mad at you. Don't be mad at me. It's a free country. You can walk with your feet, but this company is going to set our own standards and do it our own way. And I've had it with this kind of stuff. And, I come in, I've been working 7 days a goddamn week since COVID. And I come in and where's everybody else? They're here and there and the Zooms don't show up. And people say they didn't get stuff. So that's not how you run a great company. We didn't build this great company by doing that, by doing the same semi-diseased shit that everybody else does.
We're not doing the same semi-diseased stuff that everybody else does. Sound familiar? On either end, either you're in a position giving that talk to your employees or you're on the receiving end of it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line.
Well, I think they should all go back to work. They should have gone back to work a long time ago, as in years ago, if you know what I mean. And then they've always confused productivity with activity. And that's, you can be very active pedaling a bicycle in first gear, but it's not too productive.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Diamond's exasperation, I'm sick of it. This has been going on for a while. There's obviously been a back and forth, and he's reached his breaking point because it's starting to impact the bottom line. But so, I just think it's interesting to listen to Jamie Dimon's riff there in the context of everything going on in the federal government and how coddled and catered to government employees have been, such that they don't have that bottom line sensitivity. They don't have the either you're going to comply or you're going to choose the window or the stairs. That's one of the they're not used to that, and all of the rallying to the defense of the poor, downtrodden, put upon federal workers. Well, this is a look at a very successful company with a lot of very successful people working for it. And that's how, it actually is in the private sector in a whole bunch of places where they don't have all these special rules for the special people that are all, we're to believe, dedicated public servants. And so I love the juxtaposition of Jamie Dimon's rant there to what's going on with DOJ and the federal government. I just think it couldn't be more timely.
But there's some people that, one person put on Twitter, stop policing your employees' time. If the work is getting done, why does it matter?
Well, but
stop treating us like children who need hall passes.
But Jamie Dimon's point is the work is not getting done, and structurally it cannot get done to the same effect it would get done if people were in the office collaborating. I also thought that his essential point about mentorship and bringing up the next generation of J.P. Morgan employees, for the young people that are not networking, that aren't interacting with their superiors in a more tangible way on an everyday basis in an office setting. I mean, it is different. I've done both in office settings and not in office settings, and there's no question it's different. And I think that's what Dimon's pointing to and saying there's no way we're as efficient. And for all the people say, I'm just going to get my work done. Well, this is not just about, getting a gentleman's C here. As Jamie Dimon, gave the example, if I was in charge of 100 employees, I bet you I could get more efficient and do it with 90. Well, that's sort of the culture you want. People striving to do better, not just do the bare minimum to keep their job.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. You can also text us on the same line.
Mary, Midway, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, hi there. Amy, on the spot reporter. If you want to see an example of this with your own eyes, if you dare, come to the neighborhood where Daly College is. I used to have a job there. I wish as one of those professors it was just like part-time. Oh, my God, the cafeteria was packed. You were getting your pizza puffs, your grilled cheese, packed. They had the observation deck for the pool. It was always busy, fun to watch. Just navigating the hallways, it's almost like you had to be a football player. It was so packed. So recently I went there to see if a certain friend was still working there. Oh, absolute tumbleweeds. Completely open, completely heated, a security guard. I guess I asked one boy in the cafeteria, I said, what's going on? He goes, yeah, well, most of the students do Zoom, the teachers do Zoom. I went in classrooms, first floor, nobody's there, and it's considered open. You should get over there, Amy. Hello?
Yeah,
no, I'm here.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Mary. Mm-hmm. Well,
I recently flew to Utah, and the woman a few rows behind me, she's like, oh, because I was walking bunky because we were delayed on the tarmac, and then she was doing a Zoom call. She's like, oh, can I introduce your dog to my students? I said, you're teaching your class from the plane? She's like, oh, yeah. So I had a feeling there was going to be a delay, so yeah, that's the new reality.
Uh-huh.
So everybody in, I think it was Round Lake, got to meet Bunky. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's, so when we have somebody with a phony emotional support animal deal talking to somebody doing phony education. Boy, that's good.
Okay,
yeah.
It's a service dog now. There's no more emotional support. And it serves a purpose.
I'm sorry.
Okay?
I update my my vocabulary on the topic. Well, I got a buddy. I mean, I haven't been down there in a while, but I got a buddy that comes into Chicago, formerly Chicago, now in Dallas. Stays at Union League Club. You know, you can see into the federal buildings across the street. There's nobody there.
Nobody there.
I mean, it's just like what Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator, reported. You know, he shows up at the office. There's 3%. 3% of employees are in the office on a Friday. No, we're all in the field. Yeah. Okay. Sure you are. Juan on the South Side. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, I just wanted to thanks for taking the call, guys. Morning, happy Friday. I'm a contractor and working with apprentices, and the new crop of apprentices is they just don't get what motivation and hard work is. So I don't have to do it with the Zoom calls and stuff, but I wanted to chime in on that. Your managers want to know what you're doing, because just like our apprentices, when my apprentice gets done doing something, he needs to come to me and be like, all right, I'm done with that. What do you got for me next? And the people can't optimize. Their management can't optimize if they can't get a hold of you or they don't know what you're doing from home. Hey, you're done with that task. Cool. Yeah, the job got done, but now I need you to do something else. And I feel that deeply in my soul, because the new crop in their phone, I'll throw a phone out the window if I see my apprentice with their phone. If there's an emergency, your loved ones will call me, the office will call me, and I'll inform you that you need to make a phone call. Otherwise,
what if somebody has? What if somebody has to emergency post something on Instagram?
The least of my concern, the very least of my concern. Yeah.
Why do you think the young? I mean, I assume you're talking about like guys in their late teens and early 20s. Why do you think they're so unmotivated as compared to people who are a bit older?
It's just the generation that they were raised in. I don't really have, like, I've been thinking about this for the last 20 years. I've been in this trade, and I've been experiencing it getting worse and worse for the last 10. We don't know. They want the money that tradesmen make, but they don't understand how hard you have to work every day, all day. Your hands have to get dirty. Like I had an apprentice that would constantly wash his hands after he picked up a tool. I'm like, you're going to be getting dirty all day long. Oh my God. There's no need for you to wash your hands. Like,
yeah.
Germs aren't bad.
It reminds me of the episode where Frasier and Niles took an automotive class. Thanks for the call. Boy, these tools are dirty. Greg, Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys. I met a guy who worked for IBM at a party, and he was telling me they had a bunch of millennials or whatever, and they were all unhappy about the hours the times that you had to come in, the dress code and everything else. So they made this big petition and all this other stuff. And so the manager of the office said, fine, okay, on Thursday at 10:30 we'll have this meeting. Thursday, 10:30, they all come in. He had his walking papers for every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's the way it should go, man. Have a good one.
Thanks for the call. Ron, Southside.
Hey, Dan and Amy. Well, it's worse with the state. I had some involvement with the state, and I talked to people that I used to work with, and they said, Ron, no, they're still not coming to work. But real quickly, in 2022, they said, hey, Ron, they're going to be coming back to a regular schedule. I said, yeah, I'm coming back to a real regular schedule. I'm retiring. Y'all have a good day.
Marty, Naperville.
All right, let's get back to this bunkie on the airplane routine.
Oh, my God.
What
Please.
the hell is that all about?
Bunky's been
flying
flying for 9 years.
all the time. I fly to Tampa all the time. And it's amazing how many. There's a woman and there were 2 Afghan dogs the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is this? What is the service animal for, Amy? Please tell us.
Well, I have some PTSD, so she helps me.
Oh, you do? Is that what Dan is doing to you?
I have to work with Dan, so I have PTSD on a daily basis.
All right, Marty, stop asking uncomfortable questions. We're supposed to all participate in this fraud. Don't you understand?
Hey, but I'm telling you, we were on the tarmac for 4 hours, and I would walk her up and down the aisles, and one person thought I was from the airlines, just to help to ease their pain and their anxiety.
Were you dressed like a stewardess?
No, but since I'm tall and blonde, I think people always think that I am one. And I'm older, like they are. Thank you, Dan.
I wish stewardesses were still tall and blonde.
PTSD!
Yeah, that was Amy before she got. That's the performance. That was part of her application for this special dispensation. Very, very convincing. All right. Coming
Happy
up.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, man. What was Dennis Miller joke about the steward? This is like 15 years ago. The stewardess is like they need to be carbon dated. When did this happen? Anyway, coming up at 6:06. Tom Homan is looking to see if AOC may want to go to Gitmo. 6:06.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Several members of the Johnson administration being forced out, and Madigan's state pension is suspended. White Sox saying Joey Gallo, the Illini host Michigan State tomorrow. WIND Chicago News Time. 6 o'clock.
Big meetings in Munich. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Vice President Vance has just sat down with NATO's leader at a security conference in Germany.
We want to make sure that NATO is actually built for the future.
And they also talked about finding a way to get Russia to stop waging war. And the vice president will later meet with Ukraine's president in Munich. And Fox's Madeline Rivera reports.
Vance, in a Wall Street Journal article, shared perhaps some of the Trump administration's strongest words of support yet for Ukraine, saying the U.S. would hit Russia with sanctions and even military action if it does not agree to a peace deal with Ukraine. Earlier this week, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth suggested the U.S. would not put troops on the ground in Ukraine.
Now, the defense secretary's in Poland now. He worked out this morning with some American troops there. And Hegseth just met with his Polish counterpart and will hold talks with Poland's president.
We want to achieve peace through strength together. Deterrence.
Hamas has just named the 3 hostages it'll release tomorrow as part of the Gaza ceasefire. American Sagi Dekelhen among them. Hamas had warned it might not set anyone free this weekend. Then Israel warned it would restart the war. President Trump wants to impose more tariffs, maybe in April. He calls them reciprocal to fix a big U.S. trade imbalance.
President Trump says to make sure taxes put on American exports are the same as goods imported into the U.S.
In other words, they charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax or tariff.
Standing alongside India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President Trump said,
it's very hard to sell into India because they have trade barriers, very strong tariffs.
The president says he'll match those if they stay in place.
There's a new lawsuit. That's Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. There's a new lawsuit from Democrats in 14 states challenging DOGE as unconstitutional, pushing back against Elon Musk and the new Department of Government Efficiency's push to go into federal agencies and slash spending. America's listening to Fox News.
Officially 3 degrees above zero at O'Hare. However, negative digits in many of the western suburbs this morning at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Several members of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration are being forced out. Mayor's office announcing that Aviation Commissioner Jamie Ray and Civilian Office of Police Accountability Chief Andrea Kirsten were retiring. The mayor warning of mass firings, you may recall, this week.
If you ain't with us, you just gotta go. So now I'm in a position now where I'll be making some decisions in the days to come, because playing nice with other people who ain't about us, it's just a waste of exercise.
Ray had just embarked on a multi-billion-dollar project at O'Hare, shocking Alderman Brian Hopkins that she was let go.
The mayor's team specifically reached out to her when the news hit about the mayor's comments that if you're not with us, you're against us and you have to go. And she was told those comments did not apply to her. Also
leaving is Jose Torrado, but he begins a new job in the days ahead at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. A Chicago man admitting to fraudulently obtaining more than $1.5 million in SNAP benefits. David Quinones pleaded guilty this week to a federal wire fraud charge. Quinones used the cards to purchase various goods at authorized retail stores, then resold most of the goods, keeping the proceeds for himself. A woman is accused of stealing thousands of dollars in valuables from multiple North suburban homes and then selling them online. Police say Dorissa Chavaria was working as a babysitter when she swiped the jewelry, handbags, and clothing from homes in Lake Forest and in Lake Bluff. With the removal of a homeless encampment delayed, Gompers Park Athletic Association members voting to move their baseball and softball league from the northwest side of Chicago from that park due to a variety of safety concerns about drug use, drug paraphernalia, and dog attacks.
We had an unofficial vote last month in January at this same establishment, and we all agreed unanimously that with the ongoing safety concerns, we can't comfortably bring children to the park.
Ryan Johnson, GPAA, saying they have found secure fields at Mayfair Park that they may use once the baseball and softball season kicks off April 21 if the homeless encampment is not moved. And a new police canine is joining the Lake County Sheriff's Office. The newest canine following in family footsteps of working in law enforcement in the north suburbs. Canine Lux is the son of Canine Dax, who passed away last year after being injured while apprehending a fleeing suspect. White Sox add two-time All-Star Joey Gallo to the roster as spring training continues, while the Cubs begin full team workouts in Mesa later today. The Bulls finally reaching the All-Star break. Rookie forward Matas Buzelis will participate in the dunk contest. The News is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 7:30 right here on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a watch party. And you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other. And if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO. Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people pay to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
6:09, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stevenson inbound, you're on the brakes, Pulaski to Kedzie right now. They've cleared an accident on I-57, outbound at 111th. Good morning, Glen Ellen. You've got a Valentine's Day accident, Prospect and Duane. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
High clouds and sun this morning, turning cloudy this afternoon. A little bit of snow, high 26. Snow tonight, 2 to 4 inches, low 24. Clouds are not as cold. Snow, little or no accumulation tomorrow, and the high at 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
3 above at O'Hare, 6 above at Midway, 5 below at Aurora, 4 below in Kankakee. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Car rams into Munich crowd, injuring at least 28. Car hits crowd in Germany, injuring at least 28 in suspected attack. These are reading headlines. NBC, Wall Street Journal, CBS. Car drives into crowd in Munich, Germany, wounding almost 30 people in suspected attack. Al Jazeera, at least 28 injured when car drives into a crowd in Germany's Munich. Huh. What was that car's problem?
I know. Well, I mean, the most important question is who was driving the car.
Oh, right. Yeah, who was driving the car? And that's where, of course, we've learned it was how the German press refers to it, because they are also committed to civilizational suicide, just like the D.C. press corps here. A Afghan asylum seeker. He's an asylum seeker. That's the one of the acceptable phrases for illegal immigrant. Now, again, his status in Germany and their immigration law, I don't pretend to be an expert on. So they may use asylum seeker an illegal immigrant with the same as synonyms with the same facility that our press corps does. He was already known to police for drugs and theft when he is said to have accelerated his car into the crowd on Thursday, hitting 30 miles an hour and plowing into 1,000 union strikers. So he's let's say he's there legally for the sake of fun. He's an asylum seeker, and they have confirmed that he is legitimate under German law. He qualifies to be an asylum seeker. But then he's known to local police for drugs and theft. And then he drives his car at 30 miles an hour into a crowd of 1,000 people. And then we find out there were indications of extremist background. There are videos, or there are statements, I guess, he has made online that speak to possible, I'm reading between the lines, Islamic extremist views, and so forth. I mean, it's just the same story everywhere in the West, with policies that have been adopted by the left everywhere in the West. And it's just that Western Europe was further down the road to serfdom than we are. We're reversing course. They're a little bit lethargic in trying to reverse course, and their people are paying for it, in some cases with their lives, just like they are here. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. How many people on the terrorist watch list entered this country illegally during the Biden administration? And did so also
through
from
Canada.
For our future 51st state. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And J.D. Vance was about to arrive in Munich right before this terrorist attack happened, or mass attack, whatever you want to label it.
Yeah, he's got the conference where he's going to try to advance the cause of peace in Eastern Europe, a deal between the Russians and the Ukrainians, right? Mm-hmm.
But
By
it's
the way,
the fifth mass attack in less than a year in Germany involving a migrant.
Right. And the response is to call them asylum seeker. I mean, the response from the press is to refer to people as asylum seekers, to say cars did things, inanimate objects do things. It's terrible when inanimate objects take it upon themselves to do things, guns, shoot people. Let's not get into the business of assigning responsibility, particularly if it's from a member of a designated marginalized community whose support we need for political power. And back in the States, I mean, since that was world global news yesterday, I want to point that out. Back in the States, I mean, there are many that are not getting it. Our friend Jason Rance, who does Portland, Seattle talk radio, brings this to our attention. Senate bill sponsored by some Marxist in Seattle would fast-track petitions to the Clemency and Pardons Board in Washington State for those with pending deportation orders. Did you hear that? At the state level, if you're here illegally and you've been convicted of a crime, we're going to fast-track a clemency or pardon application to the state boards so that you don't get deported. Ostensibly, how else do you read that? It's like, let's get him. We'll just absolve them of the crimes, which will arguably obviate the ICE detainer, or certainly make it more easier to not comply with it, because this is not a worst first guy. Now it's just a guy who's here illegally. I mean, I'm sure Tom Homan will pick up on any attempted two-step like that, but just the mindset that would come up with legislation like that. And so tell me again how we're supposed to unite the country. We're supposed to unite with people like this state senator in Washington State who prioritizes illegal immigrant criminals, criminals with a 2 exponent, here illegally, that's a crime, and then commit another crime. And they're prioritized over American citizens. We're going to do everything we can to keep them in the country. Even as the stated position of so many politicians who have political aspirations, is, of course, just like you hear from John, of course, people who commit crimes here and are not citizens should be removed. Of course. Well, that's what they say because they know they have to. But that's not what they really do, most of them. Here's what's going on in Massachusetts. I mean, just so you think this is, it's a one-off. It's one loon in Seattle. It's the multicultural German leftist stuff. No. It is attendant to every sort of institutional leftist. Not every Democrat, I get it, but every institutional leftist in positions of authority, it is the same story. Bill Malugin, yesterday, reporting on Massachusetts in particular. It's not limited to Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is a rather remarkable case study.
It's hard to believe there are any jurisdictions out there that wouldn't cooperate with ICE when it comes to illegal aliens charged with forcibly raping children. But in Massachusetts, it's just routine. Take a look at this case. ICE Boston just announcing they arrested this Guatemalan illegal alien charged in Massachusetts with 3 counts of aggravated child rape and 3 counts of forcible rape of a child. So the question is, why was he on the streets, right? Well, ICE says their detainer request on him was ignored by the Essex County Superior Court due to sanctuary policy. The locals released him into the community on bail without any notice to ICE. In a statement, the director of ICE Boston says in part, quote, Jose Fernando Perez has been charged with some horrific crimes against a minor in our Commonwealth. He is exactly the type of alien we are targeting with our worst first policy. He posed a significant danger to the children of Massachusetts, and we will not tolerate such a threat to our community. ICE Boston also announcing the arrest of this Turkish illegal alien charged in Massachusetts with assault and battery against an intellectually disabled person and witness intimidation. But ICE says their detainer on him was also ignored by the sanctuary city of Somerville. He had also been released into the public. Elsewhere around the U.S., ICE Seattle arrested this Salvadoran illegal alien wanted in his home country for aggravated homicide. Here in Los Angeles, ICE arrested this Guatemalan illegal alien charged with sexual assault and rape with a gun. And in Colorado, the DEA announced their top 10 arrests of illegal immigrants in recent days, including several affiliated with Tren de Aragua and others with egregious crimes like kidnapping, child sexual assault.
Right. Multiple counts of raping a kid, violating a person with intellectual disabilities, and the response from the people in charge is to ignore the ICE detainers. This is why they want to get in the jails.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. 312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line.
And, it's curious to me why you don't have more sheriffs, county sheriffs, putting out statements like Klickitat County, Washington Sheriff Bob Songer. It's a small county in Washington State, but Washington State's a sanctuary state. You heard Malugin talking about Seattle. Of course, Seattle is, completely out of control, like most major cities in America. Why don't we hear sheriffs in Illinois putting out a statement like this one? Sheriff Bob Songer.
I want to send a message to the ICE. If you need any help at all, put me on speed dial. We will be there to help you. We will not protect criminals, illegal criminals that are in our country, the drug dealers, the human trafficking, and just the mere fact of sneaking across that border. Well, they didn't sneak. Some of them have, but most of them, they just waited to cross and come into our country. No controls whatsoever. And now we got millions of illegals in our country. And they commit a law, breaking the law as well. But the main ones they want to come after first is the criminal illegals. And we will help them any way we can. I don't care if this is a blue state, a sanctuary state. They have an obligation. Our governor, our new governor is going to take office, has an obligation to the safety of our state. And if they refuse, that's on them. But this sheriff is not going to refuse to help ICE. We will be there to help ICE to do the job.
No, that sheriff's not afraid of open border sanctuary state governor. Why are so many sheriffs in Illinois afraid of the same? Joe in East Dundee.
Hey, Dan and Amy. These reporters spilling the beans on Tom Homan's plans. They need to be taken to court. Actually, they're getting in the way of federal operations and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and thanks for the call, Joe. And anybody who does will be. I mean, we played it earlier this week. Homan was on Hannity and asked about possibility that leaks about ICE operations in advance of ICE operations were coming from within the FBI, and that was referred to the DOJ for investigation. Reporters do it. Other politicians do it. I mean, Homan wants everybody under scrutiny because if they're not technically crossing the line, you have a lot of people that are right up to it and violating the spirit of it. One of them may be AOC, who put out a webinar as to how to avoid capture by ICE, and Tom Homan addressed that as well.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that, because there's impediment is impediment in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done. This is about public safety. This is about community safety. Knowingly releasing a public safety back in the public is just stupid. You're putting the public at great risk. You're putting our officers at great risk. You're even putting the illegal alien at great risk, because anything can happen on an arrest on the street. So we just want to make common sense. In sanctuary cities, they want to step aside. We're coming. We're going to do it for you. If you don't want to make your community safer, President Trump's going to.
I'll tell you what, I think what's going to happen is that one of these Marxist nitwits, in the misguided vein of civil disobedience, is going to put himself or herself decidedly across that line and is going to be used as an example. They're going to make an example. Department of Justice will make an example of that person, and that person will become a cause celeb on the left, which is what all of these people want, because that celebrity is the pathway to perhaps higher office or political power or relevance, some combination of all of that. But I think that's what's going to happen at some point here, and
they can't live their lives if there's no attention. And Ileana Omar, she did the same thing with her Somalian community. They had a meeting. She spoke in their native language about how
she does all
what
the
they
time.
get to do to avoid being captured from ICE, or what happens if they knock on your door.
Ilhan Omar. Well, that's happening in every school district, too. So that's right up on the line. It's not over the line, but it's right up to it. And so I'm saying somebody's going to cross it. And Tom Homan's going to be there, and Pam Bondi's going to be there, and we're going to have a whole spectacle. But that's okay. I'm happy to have those debates. And if somebody wants to light themselves on fire for the purpose of advancing an understanding of the rule of law in a free society, and the provision of public safety that people are entitled to via the tax dollars and the commitments that are made, the institutions that are erected, then fine, let's have that conversation. By the way, Ilhan is her name.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Leon.
I'm a name assassinator.
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Ilhan, brotherly love spice. You just go with
Thank
that.
you.
She may run for that now open U.S. Senate seat in Minnesota. So that
Please do.
That'd be good news. Could be good news, bad news. I mean, or good news or bad news. It could be good news because hopefully she loses and then she's out of office. It could be bad news as she becomes a member of the Senate, and it's even more of a disgrace to our nation and particularly the state of Minnesota.
Well, I'm going to tweet out. Real quick, I'm going to tweet out AOC's response to Tom Homan. She's mocking him.
Of course.
She's like, maybe he's going to be in trouble now. Maybe he can learn to read, and he should start with the Constitution. It would be a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's familiar with it. He referred the matter to the Department of Justice for guidance. That's also a constitutional play by Tom Homan. But I mean, again, the point of trying to have an adult conversation with a child like AOC, well, there is no point. But it is instructive. These are real-world examples that are used to get to people who do have firing synapses, who may be able to improve their understanding of the world around them. It's not about AOC. It's using AOC as an instructional aid. Rick and Joliet.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I'm just a regular entrepreneur, small business, working stiff guy. And some of these stories just make me want to turn off my favorite AM 560 morning show because it makes me want to retch that these despicable people in these local governments are protecting these child molesters. I mean, the absolute worst among us. And where is the associative guilt? In as if you were molesting a child in a room and I was watching the door, I'd be as guilty as you are. When does this stop?
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Rick. I guess, as I've said before, I think I said on Monday when Cass filled in for Amy, or maybe it was Friday when Charles was in, but regardless, I mean, some politician, one of these open borders politicians, these child rapist collaborators, like in Boston, you just heard from Illusions reporting, need to be held accountable at the ballot box. They need to be removed. When there is a message sent into the political ecosystem that if you take this position, you are going to be box office poison politically, you're done politically, then maybe some people will straighten up and fly right, even if it's against their inclinations. That sort of pressure, that sort of political pressure moves people. But you just haven't had these sanctuary state politicians, very many of them that come to mind, certainly in Illinois, held to account by their respective constituents. That's what has to happen. There's just no way around it. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
It's a new year, but the need continues. Hi, Amy Jacobson here to let you know that you could still be part of our annual Food for the Poor campaign. We are working to provide food for a year and access to water to children in Latin America and the Caribbean. And we need you to help us reach our goal. We are so close, especially if you own or run a business or make the marketing decisions for a business. You can still become a business benefactor by making a tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor. That gift will feed 50 children for all of 2025. And to show our appreciation for your generosity, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here on the station between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this amazing deal, just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
This is Carol Platt-Liebel for townhall.com. It's a new era in America. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, reported that FEMA has resolved 80% of the open Hurricane Helene cases in western North Carolina. That's not all. Since President Trump took office, the number of people crossing the southern border is down by 93%. Illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border is at a 5-year low. Of course, it's too soon for a victory lap. Powerful pockets of bureaucratic resistance still exist. Just last week, FEMA sent $59 million to luxury hotels in New York City so they'd continue to house illegal immigrants. But the moral of the story is clear. Government inefficiency and national decline are not inevitable. They're choices. And the Trump administration, backed by the American people, are rightly insisting that our government choose more wisely. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
AM 560, The Answer.
You want to hear something wild?
Sure.
See if you can pick out who this is. Reporter.
From our nation's capital. Caitlin, what does that mean? What's George Soros trying to do with the immigration crisis?
Good morning. Okay, so George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country. And in this data dump, one of the memos was about the refugee crisis. And they made 3 points. They think that they've been successful at influencing immigration policy across the world. They think that the refugee crisis is an opportunity to continue doing so. And they think the refugee crisis is the new normal. And George Soros is this guy who is a staunch advocate for open borders. He wants people to be able to go wherever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason. And for him, he sees this immigration policy, this crisis, as a vehicle to further his immigration agenda.
Is that Caitlin Collins?
Klingon Collins, that's right. When Klingon Collins worked for the Daily Caller. Before she got snapped up by CNN and
brainwashed. Turned
into, one of the left's little henchmen in the D.C. press corps. We'll use that as a perfect segue to platform some of Trump's interactions with Klingon Collins yesterday at the White House at 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
5 above at 6:34 in Chicago. Federal judge late last night issuing an order compelling the Trump administration to lift its 3-week funding freeze on some U.S. foreign aid. The judge, Amir Ali, issued that order in a U.S. district court in Washington in a lawsuit brought by 2 so-called health organizations. 14 states are suing President Trump over his unlawful delegation of executive power. The suit filed Thursday argues that the Trump DOGE agency and the authority being given to Elon Musk are unconstitutional. Pushback this morning from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
I'm with DOGE, I'm with Elon, I'm with Trump. We should be holding the line on spending. We shouldn't be looking for ways to increase spending if we don't need to.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth visiting Warsaw, Poland today, discussing the country's defense goals, answering questions from reporters just moments ago. Secretary Hegseth echoed Donald Trump's demand that the Ukraine war come to an end.
Mike Waltz, to the Vice President, to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, we're all on the same page. And our job is to ensure that our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, has the full spectrum of options to bring this conflict, bring the killing to an end.
The hostage swap between the U.S. and Russia came shortly before those comments and an alleged Russian drone attack on the reactor shield covering the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The Israeli government says Hamas needs to release 3 more hostages on Saturday, or the Gaza ceasefire will come to an end. Yesterday, Hamas released a statement saying it would release the hostages as planned. Several members of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration are being forced out. Among them, Aviation Commissioner Jamie Rhee, Civilian Office of Police Accountability Chief Andrea Kirsten, and also leaving Jose Tirado, Director of the 911 Center, or OEMC. Confirmation hearings got underway Thursday for Linda McMahon in the Department of Education on Capitol Hill, President Trump's choice to run the DOE. Chicago Teachers Union raised their concerns about whether services may be impacted for so-called vulnerable students.
Trump is picking on Chicago. We have no reason to believe he will not pick on our school district as well. We will be in a situation where children with IEPs, children who are bilingual, will no longer get the services they need.
That was disputed by Linda McMahon. Federal funding makes up 16% of the Chicago Public Schools budget. Migration data from a moving company this morning shows Illinois, once again, near the top of the list for states with the most outbound moves. The annual North American Van Lines Migration Report shows Illinois was second in the country for outbound moves, only behind California. High taxes, according to the survey, and overall cost of living, the primary factors. Women's hoops last night, no more unbeatens. Top-ranked UCLA falls to number 6 USC last night. UCLA was 23-0. Fighting Illini women earned their 20th victory, 67-55 over Penn State. The men go for their third win in a row when they host a tough number 11 Michigan State squad tomorrow. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees the left scrambling to keep up.
Where is La Resistance? Axios, which is a mainstream media regime operation, has published an article claiming that worn-out whiners are whining so much about not being able to keep up with President Trump's shock and awe and rapid-fire policy.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Why wait to move your assets around? Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
You know, I'm 80 years old, I'm a veteran, and the reds and the greens, I really appreciate the vegan capsules from Balance of Nature. So I can definitely tell you it's all 100% positive. It really, really works.
I love the fiber and spice. I'm getting started back on the fruits and vegetables, but the fiber and spice, it's the best fiber I've ever taken in the last 20 years.
It's the best gift I've ever given myself. I just feel better. I swear it's due to Balance of Nature.
I am really, really happy with the product and couldn't say more to advise people to buy them.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
641. Chicago fire busy today. Structure fire, 87th, just east of Halstead, and Chicago fire remains on the scene there. Bensonville, emergency responders are at Thorndale and Route 83 for an accident. Jane Addams vehicle fire, 2 right lanes blocked. It's on the eastbound side of I-90, just before Arlington Heights Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Partly sunny this morning, becoming cloudy late in the day with snow showers. High 26. Periods of snow 2 to 4 inches. But let's be clear, parts of the city will probably see less than an inch. You may see up to 4 inches of snow along the Wisconsin border. 3 above at O'Hare, 6 above at Midway, 5 below in Aurora, and 8 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
I wasn't going to do it, but I feel compelled. Yeah, I feel compelled to do a special Valentine's Day edition of Why Dan Proft is Single. I think it's only appropriate. Before I get to some instructional on courtship for both men and women, I did see somebody who's playing it pretty smart at Dunkin' Donuts this morning, the Dunkin' Donuts I go to. One of the dudes behind the counter was wearing a T-shirt that said, "I love my Latina girlfriend."
And did you look at him and say, "And I love her too"? No. I said, I know what you're doing. I get it. I know what you're doing. I see What's he doing?
The way, and I don't know if he actually has a girlfriend, but I think he may be trying to get a girlfriend. And one of the things you have to do, I believe, to not be single as a man, is you have to be willing to announce to the world that you no longer have title to your manhood. And that's what he was doing. Right?
I guess so. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Because all the women that go to the Dunkin' Donuts are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so sweet," and so on and so forth. And when they say like "that's so sweet," I mean, yeah, this guy, is completely subservient, and that's what you want. That's what I think you want. Well, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, no. A lot of women want manly men that are hunters and gatherers and can protect you and have a stud finder and a drill and, can get things done around the house. Yeah. Okay. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. How many men out there or women are compelling their men to wear I love my blank girlfriend or wife, Could be honky. Yeah, it could be anything under the sun. But, something like "I love my Latina girlfriend." T-shirts. Or collared shirts, if you have a formal event to go to, for example. But I did want to, I was just thinking about this, Valentine's Day, which, of course, I look forward to all year.
It's your favorite holiday. Just tell people.
And for the lovelorn out there, I've tried to provide some mentorship. And I can't think of a better approach to courtship than as was presented in the great sitcom News Radio. Have you ever seen News Radio?
No, I haven't.
You're in radio and you've never watched the show News Radio?
No, I haven't. But I will. Can I get it on Netflix or where can I get it?
Yeah, the streaming services. It's one of the great sitcoms of all time. You know who got their big break in News Radio? You don't, because you didn't watch it.
No, I didn't.
Joe Rogan.
Oh.
Joe Rogan was part of this ensemble cast in News Radio. Now, it was carried by Dave Foley and Phil Hartman in particular, which is brilliant. But it was a great ensemble cast. And one of another member of that ensemble cast, who is an excellent comedic actor. And if you don't know the name, you'd recognize him if you saw him. Stephen Root. He played the owner of the station, a character named Jimmy James. He was Milton in Office Space with the stapler as well. That was Stephen Root. Anyway, this exchange from News Radio is par excellence when it comes to the rules of the road of courtship. And this is how it should go. It doesn't go like this, but it's how it should go.
Melanie, I'm single, you're single. What do you say we get married?
Well, I'm glad you finally decided on the direct approach.
Yeah, well, I'm a businessman at heart.
As am I. What's your offer?
Single rich male seeks matrimony.
Primary residence?
Westchester County.
Would you be open to considering a secondary residence in Manhattan?
Central Park West.
South.
Done. Time spent together.
8 hours, 5 days a week.
7 hours, 12 hours weekends.
55 hours aggregate, specifics to be determined later.
I'm amenable to that. Children.
1.
3.
2.
Done. But one of them has to be a male.
I'll see what I can do. Vacations.
December, Hawaii.
June, the vineyard.
June, fine, but Hawaii.
Nope, the vineyard.
Is that a deal breaker for you?
I'm afraid so.
Me too. Well, we gave it a shot.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
I'm sure you'll find a better match.
Thanks for the time.
Isn't that so? See, it made it so simple. It's just neat, quick.
Quick and clean, just like you, Dan. Have you ever had that moment with somebody? I doubt it. Well, maybe you have.
What's that?
That's just reenacting that, like, how many kids? Where do you want to go? June.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm
negotiated.
For as big a fan of prose as I am, I'm probably not the most sentimental guy around.
No.
Yeah. George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, Stan, at least that guy at your Dunkin' Donuts didn't have a T-shirt saying, "I love my neighbor's wife."
Yes, that would have been breaking a commandment there, George. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, you know, that T-shirt was nice on the front, but on the back was actually her picture, her home address, work address, and her immigration status. He wasn't trying to be nice. He was trying to get rid of her.
Yeah, okay, all right. No, that's not true. There was nothing on the back of the T-shirt. That is such a boss play, I think. Especially if I didn't get into it with him, but especially if he doesn't actually have a girlfriend, but he was throwing a line out, you know?
Did you roll your eyes at him?
No, I gave him a knowing glance. Like I see the play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Anything else? I mean, did you want to offer something on Valentine's Day? I mean, it's a day for people of your, for the distaff side, for women.
Yeah, I'm not a big I'm not one of those ladies. Oh, no. I broke up with a guy once because he gave me a dozen roses on Valentine's Day.
Why?
Because I told him, if you're going to give me anything, I'd rather have something that, like gym shoes and roses are about the same price, right? And gym shoes can last up to years, and roses die in a week. So, yeah. But it wasn't going well anyway. But I let him know, like, please don't if you're going to give me anything, I'm a size 10 in gym shoes. And
that's what you said before he gave you roses or after he gave you roses?
No, before. I said, don't, I'm not a big Valentine's Day person, but if you feel compelled to get me something, please get me something that will last, like gym shoes, rather than roses.
And you just ignored your request.
And that's how I got divorced.
Was this the competitive eater?
No.
Was it Mario Lopez?
No, it was somebody else. I'm not going to drop names.
Edward James Olmos?
Okay, can you just please stop going through my romantic past? And Edward James Olmos was one date and done, okay?
Who? Brad Lowhouse? Who was the guy who's the basketball player you dated?
Jeff Moe.
Oh, Jeff Moe, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No?
No. You're not going to get it.
I mean, but honestly, I get you right. I mean, this is like, that's why Dan Proft is single. A guy got Amy Jacobson roses and she broke up with him. I mean, what the?
Well,
I know it's cliche, but I mean, especially these days, chocolate's so expensive now because of climate change. That's what NBC5 not NBC5, NBC News is reporting.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the impact of the cacao crop in West Africa because it's been a little unseasonably warm or something like that. Yeah. Glenn in Orlando, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. I envision Dan in the new version of the dating game. Remember Jim Lang hosting the dating game?
Oh, yeah.
And Dan would be there interviewing the three lovely females and asking questions like, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be and why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would ask, yeah. Who's your? I would be asking like, who is your favorite economist and why? Yeah. Thanks for the call, Glenn. By the way, you know what would be nice? Have you seen this movie? This is a perfect Valentine's Day movie. This is something I would do, which is why I'm single. The movie Woman of the Hour.
I didn't see it.
It's Anna Kendrick.
Okay.
And it's a real story about a serial killer who got onto the dating game and won.
Ooh.
And ultimately, but I mean, it's actually a pretty good flick. But I like, just something if you're thinking about, unwinding after a romantic dinner, you may want to check out Woman of the Hour. Movies about serial killers are always nice on Valentine's Day, is my point.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I was in a relationship one time, and
I'm sure it was only one time.
I try to avoid them if I can.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so it was going really good, and she was over to my house, and she found out I was a gun collector. I collect antique and modern firearms. She came downstairs and said, I don't think we can see each other anymore. And I was kind of like, why? She goes, well, because you like guns. And I go, yeah. And she goes, well, I have a problem with that. And I go, well, if you think I'm going to sell them, you're crazy. I go, we had a lot of fun, but you got to make the decision. So I put the decision on her, and we hung around for about a year after that. And it wasn't like all relationships, it ended. But you gotta stand up for yourself with these women.
You got to stick to your guns, so to speak.
You better believe it.
Hey, Rick. So how did you meet her in the first place? I would think a man of your intellect and and caution, sort of circumspect, would be like have a proper vetting process so that you would know going in that we wouldn't have issues with important things like Second Amendment rights.
Well, honestly, I met her at a club called The Living Room that was in Oak Brook.
I remember The Living Room. Oh, I remember The Living Room.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Dan did a lot of damage there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was watching her dance, and I could tell she worked out. Can I go to the gym, too? I could tell she worked out, and so when she got done, I said, are you like an aerobic instructor or something? And that one thing led to the next, and we ended up going out. But she was from Serbia, so she had problems with guns. But I didn't find that out until later. But I was like, I'm not going to sell them. And then I had another girl who didn't like the fact I had a motorcycle. And I'm like, well, I'm not selling that either, though. So you just got to stand up to them.
That's a great. I'm going to try that line. Are you an aerobics instructor? Okay, I wrote that down. I'm going to try that one.
It worked that time.
Thanks for the call, Rick. The Living Room in Oak Brook. Oh man, that brings me back.
We got a text message. Dan and Amy, at least it wasn't my Latina ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Latinx, I mean.
Yeah, that would be sad.
Mm-hmm. But what were you going to say about The Living Room? I want to hear about your...
Well, that would also... And if you said, I love my Latina ex-girlfriend, that would be like, oh, he still likes the ex-girlfriend, so that's not very good bait for the next one. You know what I mean?
These text messages are great. Dan and Amy, my wife is with Amy. She hates flowers, so I bought her WeatherTech floor mats, and she's very happy.
Well, that's nice. Well, it's, I know there's some practical women out there. Not everyone's a silly heart like me. Neil in LaGrange.
Amy, you're very much like my wife. Our first Valentine's Day together, she was thrilled that I gave her a garbage disposal.
Speaking of practical, thanks for the call, Neil. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. The Jimmy James dating model. I mean, I think more women need to get attuned to that. I think it would be helpful. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The law offices of Arena Camaristi in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, seeks a legal assistant to assist attorney with the firm's asylum, family-based immigration, naturalization, removal defense, humanitarian, and other cases. Please apply by submitting resumes to icamaristi@yahoo.com. Reference job ID LA 2025 in the subject line. Again, please apply by submitting resumes to icameristi@yahoo.com. Reference job ID LA 2025 in the subject line.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
So when we saw the advertisements for this by reputable people, I told my husband, I said, well, we don't have anything to lose, so let's do it. Within a month, I could see a difference. It's really great. Y'all should let me do those commercials. Do you know how many people I have gotten to take Balance of Nature?
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
AM 560. The Answer.
You know where else? The living room in Oak Brook. Did you ever go to the living room? I mean, you were probably too old at that time. But did you ever go to the living room in Schaumburg?
In Schaumburg. Yeah, it used to be Walter Payton's 34s. I worked there for 2 years.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
living room in Schaumburg was a good time, too.
Oh, oh, Dan.
Back in the day when I used to trip the light fantastic. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get the romantic stories from Dan later in the show. Also, too, Justin Kosick, who's his wife, they're about to have a baby. He got Bethany a hard drive for her computer for Valentine's Day.
Oh, he gave her the hard drive, all right. That's why they're having a kid.
Heyo. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we'll talk Doge with Scott McKay.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Madigan state pension suspended. Arlington Heights mayor endorses a replacement candidate. Steve Carell coming to Chicago. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
How to stop the war in Ukraine. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is a big focus overseas today.
The reality of U.S. troops in Ukraine is unlikely. The reality of Ukraine membership in NATO as a part of a negotiated settlement, unlikely.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in Poland this morning, meeting with his counterpart and our allies' president. Vice President Vance is at the Munich Security Conference in Germany, where he met with NATO's leader, and then later he'll sit down with Ukraine's president.
Vance told the Wall Street Journal that the U.S. could hit Moscow with sanctions and potential military action to push Russian President Vladimir Putin into a deal to end the war in Ukraine.
Fox's Brooke Singman. Doge is under attack in another lawsuit. Democrats in 14 states challenging Elon Musk and the new Department of Government Efficiency as unconstitutional, going into federal agencies looking to slash spending. And Fox's Peter Ducey reports from the White House.
A federal judge here in Washington, D.C. is actually siding with federal contractors suing the Trump administration, claiming that this foreign aid freeze is hurting them. The judge ruled that for now, the Trump team cannot cancel any of the foreign aid contracts that were here when they got here. A different federal judge is also slowing down the president's plan to wind down USAID until at least February 21st.
And the president's working to slash the workforce. There are layoffs at multiple agencies, from Veterans Affairs to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Trump administration's ordered that all probationary federal workers recently hired, not under civil service protection yet, be laid off. The AP reports that could affect hundreds of thousands of workers. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now Health and Human Services Secretary, sworn in after being confirmed by the Senate over Democrat objections that he's a dangerous vaccine skeptic. But Kennedy tells Fox,
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccine. If people are happy with their vaccines, they ought to be able to get them. What we're going to do is give people good science.
Secretary Kennedy also says he wants healthier food stamp and school lunch programs. America's listening to Fox News.
7:02, 5 degrees above. On AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Here are the stories we're focusing on in Chicago. Several members of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration are being forced out, including Aviation Commissioner Jamie Ray, COPA Chief Andrea Kirsten, and also leaving Jose Tirado, the director of the Office of Emergency Management and Communications, or the 911 Center. He begins a new job with Cook County State's Attorney in days. As confirmation hearings got underway on Thursday for Linda McMahon, President Trump's choice to run the Department of Education, Chicago Teachers Union members raised concerns about services for vulnerable students and if they would be impacted.
Trump is picking on Chicago. We have no reason to believe he will not pick on our school district as well. We will be in a situation where children with IEPs, children who are bilingual, will no longer get the services they need.
That is disputed by Linda McMahon. Arlington Heights Mayor Tom Hayes endorsing a candidate to replace him. Hayes throwing his support behind trustee Jim Tenaglia. It comes as Arlington Heights continues to prepare for the possible construction of a new Bears stadium. The annual pension for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan suspended. Here's AM 560's Jim Talamonte.
The General Assembly retirement system suspends pension benefits on the first of the month following a conviction. The system is not allowed to recoup the more than $580,000 that Madigan has been paid since he retired in 2021. Illinois Policy Institute Assistant Editor Dylan Sharkey says it shouldn't be that way.
Although he was just convicted now, he was convicted of crimes from years ago, well before he retired, meaning that he should have to pay back what he's already been paid out, that $580,000.
Sharkey says lawmakers are not likely to change a system that favors them.
Illinois pensions are famously underfunded, but the General Assembly retirement system is actually one of the best funded, which is even less of a reason for lawmakers to act on the pension crisis because it doesn't affect their personal lives.
I'm Jim Talamonte.
Steve Carell being tapped to be Northwestern's commencement speaker for the class of 2025. The actor will speak at the university's 167th annual commencement on June 15th. Carell's daughter Annie is a Northwestern alum, and his son Johnny is a student at the School of Communications. Chicago sports. White Sox adding a two-time All-Star to their spring roster, Joey Gallo. The 31-year-old spent last season with the Nationals. Cubs begin full-team workouts at spring training in Mesa today. PGA Tour, Denny McCarthy sitting on top of the leaderboard after the opening round of the Genesis near San Diego at Torrey Pines. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago at balanceofnature.com. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by Attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Vestuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
I'm sick of winter. When is spring coming?
Today.
Excuse me?
Just purchase your new Beauty Rest, Serta Perfect Sleeper, or Sealy Posturepedic from Hasselus Mattress today, and we'll give you a free box spring.
Okay, but I'm asking about the arrival of spring.
Oh, that's easy. It arrives tomorrow.
What?
Purchase your new Hasselus mattress today, and we'll deliver your free box spring tomorrow.
Are you the store with no employees?
Test our full line of Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and Serta Perfect Sleeper without salespeople breathing down your neck, and save a ton of cash.
How much?
Others sell a Beauty Sleep by Beauty Rest Elm Cove B Queen mattress for $16.50, but the everyday Hasselus price is just $8.42. And we have way low pricing on Sealy Posturepedic and Serta Perfect Sleeper too.
Plus a free box spring?
Yes.
Looks like spring's coming early this year.
Open 9 to 9. Find your employee-free Chicagoland showroom at Hasselus.com.
7:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Turnkey.pro. Start the new year right with Turnkey's all-in package. Receive unlimited help desk support, firewall router, backup and recovery, unlimited, of course, and antivirus protection. Visit Turnkey.pro. By the way, you get all this for one low monthly investment at Turnkey.pro. Southside structure fire, 87th and Halstead, emergency equipment on the scene. Vehicle fire, Jane Addams Toll Road, I-90 eastbound right before Arlington Heights Road. Reagan I-88 accident on the westbound off-ramp to Naperville Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
High clouds and sun this morning, turning cloudy this afternoon. A little bit of snow, high 26. Snow tonight, 2 to 4 inches, low 24. Clouds are not as cold. Snow, little or no accumulation tomorrow, and the high at 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
4 above at O'Hare, 6 above at Midway, 4 below in Aurora, 5 below in Kankakee. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me which
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against Doge. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me. Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Yeah, that's another earworm for our listeners. I know there'll be some people upset, but hey, it's the protest song du jour. The question, I don't know if that was intended to be rhetorical, but because it's drawing some answers. Here's a black lady who took up that question of which side is she on.
Oh, really? Y'all talk about taking what to the streets? I hear you Democrat politicians talking about taking something to the street. We got to use violence. Oh, yeah? Y'all want this smoke? Well, come on out to the street because there's a whole bunch of angry taxpayers, baby. And I don't think you got enough bodyguards for us, honey. So you watch what you say. And now y'all want to sing civil rights songs? What side are you on? What side are you on? Really? We ain't on your damn side. We on God's side. Because y'all the devil. Y'all the devil. And how dare y'all talk about violence? The party of love and happiness. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Bring it to the streets. Come on, I dare you. Bring it to the streets. Let's see what happens when you bring it to the streets. Hell out of here. Y'all look like a bunch of damn fools. Shut your ass up.
I nominate her to be Mike Johnson's spokeshuman. That's pretty good stuff. Yeah, I'd love to see her in a room with Oregon pulmonologist Maxine Dexter. That would be fun. Yeah, and it should, the whole, actual the whole, take it to the streets and use actual weapons. She's referring to something that California stooge Marxist Robert Garcia said in response to his antics of, posting a penis or presenting a penis pic during a committee hearing, and it was just a picture of Elon Musk, and then defending it, saying we have to use actual weapons. Actual weapons? So she's ready if they want to come to her address. That woman is, which is good. Good stuff there. In addition to that, just more of the actual evidence to enter into the record in response to the silly contentions that the left is advancing. One is that, all roads lead through Elon Musk, and he's, sitting in the center of the earth, pulling back money and canceling contracts and firing employees. This is all being run through agencies, and he's not the only one on the ball. For example, listen to this story from EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. This is something he found with his team inside EPA, and it rivals, according to the Doge clock, what Doge has saved taxpayers to date. This is how rampant it is.
Shockingly, roughly $20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposefully designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency. Just under $7 billion was sent to one entity called the Climate United Fund. I'm sure you and I now have some of the same questions. How do these organizations decide how to allocate funding? How much money have they given out so far and to whom? Are there any former Biden EPA staffers who are now working at these entities? Let me make one thing abundantly clear. At this point, there is zero reason to suspect any wrongdoing by the bank. Here's my position as EPA administrator. The financial agent agreement with the bank needs to be instantly terminated, and the bank must immediately return all of the gold bars that the Biden administration tossed off the Titanic. EPA needs to reassume responsibility for all of these funds. We will review every penny that has gone out the door. I will be referring this matter to the Inspector General's office, and we'll work with the Justice Department as well.
Zeldin is asking all the right questions. He's sharp, one of the very good selections that Trump made. So this is a whole of government, a favorite phrase of the left. This is a whole of government approach to addressing the proverbial waste, fraud, and abuse. Something else, too, with respect to USAID, since that's still part of the protest songs.
Yeah, well, they had a House hearing yesterday, too.
The argument about soft power. This is America's use of soft power. These are investments that produce returns. So the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee is a Florida representative named Brian Mast, who lost both of his legs in an explosion serving our country in Afghanistan. Bronze Star, Purple Heart. He's the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee now. The ranking member is race-hustling Marxist from New York named Gregory Meeks. Brian Mast, and he played this in committee, Brian Mast, Gregory Meeks, and the Ugandan ambassador to the United States. Listen to this exchange that he played in committee.
If a country's asking for chicken, that we're not giving them fish. Or, to be more provocative, if they're asking for chicken, we're not giving them LGBTQI, trans, whatever. Something that doesn't make us the partner of choice because of the way that we are operating on specific issues.
When we spend money in those areas, it's an investment. It's not a waste of the United States money. It's an investment that we're looking at, and we want to get a return on that investment now and in the future.
My name is Robi Kakonge, and I'm Uganda's ambassador. We stood with America in Somalia. We host nearly 2 million refugees in our country. But what we would ask for America is for us to agree to disagree when it comes to issues of LGBT. We have situations where we're no longer getting visas, but yet people of different persuasion get those visas. We have travel advisories, we have all sorts of things. And many of them just came out of social media, and just we never had like a decent conversation. So what we ask of America is that we stand with you as a country of choice. China's there and all those other ones are there. We just want to make sure that there are no LGBT flags hanging over the embassies and all sorts of things out of cultural respect.
Just goes to the point again, are the actions that we're taking making America the partner of choice in that country or region, or are they not? And if we're not very specifically evaluating that, we're doing ourselves a disservice.
That Ugandan ambassador really stuck it down the throat of Gregory Meeks, didn't she? Scott McKay is the publisher of The Hayride, senior editor at the American Spectator, author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, as well as King of the Jungle. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday to you.
It's been an entertaining week in Doge world, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's transformational is the word I would use. And you can see that the Democrats have absolutely no answer to any of this. And I've used this a couple of times, so I've done radio and I've written it. If you want an analogy for all this stuff, think of a centrifuge, right? Properly tuned, a centrifuge is a very, very powerful piece of machinery. You enrich uranium with a really powerful centrifuge spinning at a very high rate. I mean, that's how big a deal a centrifuge is. But if it's out of tune, if it's off center, the faster you spin that thing, the worse it will get in terms of throwing off parts and destroying itself. And the Democrats right now are a broken centrifuge. Their people they don't know anything other than spin it faster. And right now they're throwing off parts, and that centrifuge is destroying itself. To argue in favor of corruption and waste, fraud, and abuse in government when you're running a $2 trillion deficit and inflation is crushing your people, puts you on the wrong side of every aspect of American politics.
So
and some of them realize it, but like what's the guy that Cenk Uygur or whatever his name is, the young Turks guy?
Yeah, Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, yeah.
Yeah, he went after Jan Schakowsky because she's like, well, manufacturing sounds like a guy, and that's why women don't want to get involved. And he's like, we'll never win another election if you start calling it woman factory. Like, and they don't want to listen to him because, well, that's not the model that we use. It's like, yeah, but your model is broken. They don't know because their whole party. I wrote about this in Racism, Revenge, and Ruin. Obama built the Democrat Party as currently constituted as a socialist community organizing party, not as a party that wins arguments or persuades people. Like their whole model is we're going to turn out more of ours than the Republicans can turn out of theirs. And that worked against Bush Republicanism, right? Where the Republican base didn't really like its own politicians. But along comes Trump, who actually gives the people what they want, which is Doge, right? Which is to relook at things that don't work and be an agent of change. All of a sudden, the energy is on the Republican side, and you can't community organize your way out of this. You actually have to have better ideas and persuade people, and they're at a loss. I mean, it's like this is the end of the Democrat Party. They could be the Whigs because what they're currently offering, nobody wants. And Scott Jennings on CNN, it was early this week, late last week, I can't remember exactly when, he was like, how many 80-20 issues are you guys going to be on the 20% side of? Because you're going to lose your party because you have nothing to offer that anybody wants. And that's where they are. They're singing protest songs about, we're against Doge, and the country's like, I want to know what else Doge is finding, right? How do you take that position? It's insane.
Well, I don't know who their next leader is, but the Dems are going to lose their credibility in the long run fighting Musk. And Musk, I don't know why they hate him so much. So he voted for Obama. He created electric cars, which the left loves so much. He can't run for president. He's doing all of this for free. So why aren't they more appreciative?
Well, the problem is that, okay, you can try to what rule is it? Rule 4 or Rule 13 rather of Alinsky's rules for radicals is pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it, and so they've picked Musk as their target. But the problem is that what Elon brings to the table with Doge is technology. Right? This is, it's not even about Elon. He's the front man for Doge, but what really is happening is these computer geniuses that he brings with him are using big data techniques that are, high-end Silicon Valley data stuff and applying that to government. And, they're training people up all the time on how to use large language models and, advanced AI algorithms that generate query strings and all these other things that I don't understand. But the new wave that's coming ashore is that practically everybody pretty soon is going to be able to do this stuff. And what they're doing is ultimately going to become open source, and you'll be able to crowdsource an investigation of waste and fraud and abuse using these things. And all of this stuff, this infrastructure that they've built with the NGOs and all of this lack of transparency, all of that is going to get illuminated and swept away. And they're literally the dinosaurs waiting on the meteor to come, because you can personify this with Musk, but it's going to be ubiquitous in 6 months to a year as all of corporate America starts using, all of this AI technology, and it goes all the way down to the state and local government level that you're able to do Doge investigations like is being done in the federal government. All of that is being disrupted, and it's going to go away because it's clearly the way to go. If you can find this stuff with a few minutes worth of an AI-aided search of a payment database, I don't know how you well, Elon is doing this to screw us over. It's like, no, this is what technology does to government accountability when it's applied. And you guys are running paper down a mine shaft to try to get people retired from the federal government. And along comes AI. You're no match for the 21st century. Yeah, and that's really what the problem is.
Yeah, I mean, some of these examples, like the limestone mine in Pennsylvania, that's like the lair of a Bond villain, are staggering, and I think they're shocking. But here's the thing I think is the real soft underbelly for the Dems right now, and I think some of them realize it, but they can't figure their way out of it because all the base of their party is sort of completely bought into identity politics. It's not so the government stuff, throwing the books open, they'll end up massaging their way around that after all of these histrionics sort of fade away, because at the end of the day, most Americans unfortunately believe government is a force for good. And they want government to be in the business of doing good things, and that's how government expands into all sorts of things it shouldn't be doing. It shouldn't even be attempting. But the problem they have, it seems to me, is that their solidarity and marginality thesis is been undermined, mainly by Trump, and then all of this just further erodes this belief that we're all in it together because we're part of a left-designated, marginalized community. Fewer and fewer people, especially as you get younger, are buying that rap.
Yeah, well, the other thing is you have to actually be good at something, right? I mean, the solidarity and marginality piece, is all about, well, here are marginalized people who should get hired for a job because they can do the job. And it's like, yeah, okay, everybody can buy that. But when the marginalized person shows up and they're patently insane and have ideas which are noxious to everyone and get put into jobs that they clearly can't do, right? Like I'm thinking about Richard Levine as a really good example, or Sam Brinton, right?
Yeah.
Are you really going to hold on to the rest of the marginalized people? Like the black lady, for example, that you had at the beginning of the segment talking about, she's like pretty put out about the "Which Side Are You On" song. Like, you show that woman Richard Levine and say, hey, this is what DEI looks like.
Right.
What kind of reaction do you think you're going to get from her? She's like, that ain't me.
Well,
this is supposed to benefit me. Instead, it's that's some white dude who's getting DEI consideration, right?
Yeah, and gets to wear that Manuel Noriega outfit on top of it too, which is pretty sharp.
Exactly.
But the other thing though too is, I think, and this is why I think there's going to be a break in some big city. I don't know where and I don't know when, but it's going to happen. I think there are more and more constituents of the big blue city model, and regionally, so Chicagoland, New York City, the full footprint, LA, and so forth, that also say, the probationary period is over. After 50 or 75 or 100 years, and you one generation after another of politicians from the same place saying, we're your constituents, we're running to serve you, and look around and where are we at, and things continue to deteriorate. Say, well, we have to think about doing things a little bit differently, and this is where it's not they're not rushing over to be card-carrying members of the Republican Party, but they're moving away from the left as it becomes more radical, and as you say, completely unproductive for their interests.
Well, you just can't go from Martin Luther King to what is this man's calling himself, the congressman from Delaware, Sarah McBride or whatever. Like you can't go from Martin Luther King to that and hold the same coalition. It just doesn't work, right? I mean, that actually offends the people who got brought into the civil rights movement with the Martin Luther Kings. Right,
not to mention the Ugandans.
Yeah, well, and that's a perfect thing is you get it's like, hey, all of your USAID money or USAID money goes to LGBTQ stuff. We have actual needs we'd like you to help us with, right? And for the Democrats to say, look, this is an investment. It's like, yeah, it's an investment in pissing off all of these countries we're trying to make our friends. And I keep saying this, and I'm the only one who does, and it irritates me that nobody else will even consider this. We were flying, and this is, I don't know that I could put this on USAID, but this mentality. We were flying the rainbow flag over the U.S. Embassy in Kabul in June of 2021. 3 months later, the freaking Taliban had taken over the country because the Afghans were with the Taliban instead of us. And nobody makes the connection, right? This, and this is the narrative is, oh, you're gonna invite China, and it's like, no, you're doing China's work by pushing things that these people in these countries hate. And the real issue is you're not even doing that because you're putting this down as a line item. We're gonna fund sex change operations in Qatar, right? You're not actually doing that. You're saying you're doing it, but really somebody is stealing the money. That's what this is. We didn't fund any sex change operations in Qatar. We paid somebody to say they were doing it, and then the money went right back to K Street into some NGO that paid a whole bunch of left-wing activists. That's what the truth of this is, and that's why absolutely no one will be hurt when all this money is taken away.
Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride, senior editor at The American Spectator, author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, as well as King of the Jungle. Scott, thank you as always.
All right, see you guys. Have a good one.
All right, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk about Trump's reciprocal tariffs announcement with Steve Cortez, founder of League of American Workers, 737.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
7:33 here in Chicago. We're watching as a federal judge late last night issued an order compelling the Trump administration to lift its 3-week funding freeze on U.S. foreign aid. The judge, Amir Ali, issued that order in U.S. District Court. An Indiana teen is under arrest for plotting a school shooting today. Court documents reveal the 18-year-old planned that mass shooting at a high school in Mooresville, just southwest of Indianapolis. Authorities learned of the plot Tuesday when someone called in an FBI tip line. That person allegedly wrote that the plan was inspired by the school shooting in Parkland, Florida on Valentine's Day 2018. Vice President J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Conference in Germany meeting with NATO leaders to begin the day.
I want to talk about NATO, in particular the president's desire to see NATO spend a little bit more resources on defense. And I know that's something Secretary General Rudda agrees with me on. We're going to talk, of course, about the Ukraine-Russia conflict and how to bring it to a negotiated settlement.
Vice President Vance is also scheduled to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Job cuts coming to Blue Origin today. The Jeff Bezos-funded space company laid off over 1,000 employees. That amounts to about 10% of its workforce. Several members of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration are being forced out. The mayor's office announcing that Aviation Commissioner Jamie Ray, Civilian Office of Police Accountability Chief Andrea Kirsten, and also Jose Torrado, director of OEMC, or the 911 Center, are being forced out, although many at City Hall feel Kirsten should have been relieved of her duties long ago for her anti-police opinions, according to many on the Chicago City Council. Chicago man is admitting to fraudulently obtaining more than $1.5 million in SNAP benefits. David Quinones pleaded guilty this week to federal wire fraud charges. Customs and Border Protection touting a large seizure here in Chicago of counterfeit stamps. The Chicago International Mail Branch stopped 8 shipments containing more than 161,000 counterfeit U.S. Forever stamps. All the parcels came from China. Republicans say Illinois Illinoisans have been taxed enough. But very quietly, Democrats in Springfield are talking new revenue ahead of Governor J.B. Pritzker's budget address next week. State Representative Barbara Hernandez among them, saying she's proposing several fee increases, including a potential quadrupling of judicial transcript costs.
Right now, it's like 70 cents per page, and it hasn't been changed since 1980. So we're just adjusting that because of inflation to maybe $3 a page.
State Senator Jill Tracy says Illinois taxpayers have no idea how much of their money is being used for things that they're being told it's not being used for, including for non-citizens.
It's more important than ever to understand how much is being spent on migrant services and which essential programs or agencies have their funds redirected to cover these costs.
Governor J.B. Pritzker's budget address is scheduled for Tuesday. Chicago sports. Bulls have reached the All-Star break. Rookie forward Modest Bazelis will participate in the dunk contest tomorrow. College hoops action tonight. Loyola will host the Billikens of St. Louis. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need reliable, same-day delivery to clients, trust Quick Delivery Service and their 40 years of experience. For peace of mind, get a quote at quickdelivery.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt sees movement in the war in Ukraine.
President Trump has called both Putin of Russia and President Zelensky of Ukraine. Now, how do we get out of this? There's got to be a way for both sides to claim that they won something. For Putin not to lose face, and for Zelensky not to lose his country.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know, you're really not stuck, really. People think when it comes to paying for health care, they just have to kind of go along with the way it is, no matter how frustrated they are with it. But it's not true. MediShare has been a huge help to people for 30 years now. And more these days, especially, people are realizing what a great alternative it is. And the difference isn't just the savings, which are huge. It's the whole thing. You're a part of something good. It's a community of people who care for and pray for and encourage each other. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in either. You're actually sharing. And yeah, back to the savings, often up to $500 a month with MediShare. The customer service is refreshing too because they're for you. It's just a different way. And even though you might feel stuck with the frustrating status quo, it's not so. You can call them now and start saving and feeling better about how you're doing it too. Here's the number. It's 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. 844-41-BIBLE.
This is Carol Platt-Liebel for townhall.com. It's a new era in America. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, reported that FEMA has resolved 80% of the open Hurricane Helene cases in western North Carolina. That's not all. Since President Trump took office, the number of people crossing the southern border is down by 93%. Illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border is at a 5-year low. Of course, it's too soon for a victory lap. Powerful pockets of bureaucratic resistance still exist. Just last week, FEMA sent $59 million to luxury hotels in New York City so they'd continue to house illegal immigrants. But the moral of the story is clear. Government inefficiency and national decline are not inevitable. They're choices. And the Trump administration, backed by the American people, are rightly insisting that our government choose more wisely. I'm Carol Platt-Liebel.
Are you a writer who's devoted your time to writing a book with Christian morals behind it but need help to get it published? Maybe you wrote a children's book, your memoirs, a devotional, or a mystery with strong moral values at its core. Covenant Books has helped faith-based authors publish, edit, and sell their books through Christian bookstores and major online book retailers. Plus, if you call now at 800-255-9500, we're offering a free writer's guide to help you through the publishing process. Our experienced and dedicated staff will review and notate your manuscript with an editor's eye. Then our page designers illustrators will format your book to create the appropriate experience for your readers. And if needed, Covenant's talented illustrators will bring your book to life. Most importantly, Covenant Books will help tell your story by printing, marketing, and distributing your book through specialty Christian bookstores and major online book retailers like Amazon, Apple, and many others. Covenant Books. Let us help tell your story. For your free writer's guide, call 800-255-9500. That's 800-255-9500. 800-255-9500.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
7:40 here in Chicago. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the Tinley Park Home Show. Homeowners save time and money when improving your home at your free admission home show. Next weekend in Tinley Park, then in Crystal Lake, Schaumburg, Oak Lawn, and Lake County. For details, visit freehomeshow.com today. Kennedy right now at 35, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Traveling on the Ike. Coming inbound right now, 40 minutes, 390 to the old post office. Bishop Ford jamming into the Ryan Merge this morning. Glendale Heights, report of an accident. Bloomingdale Road and Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny this morning. Will cloud up late in the day. Head for snow overnight. 26 for a high. Some areas could see 2 inches or more overnight. A low of 24. Cloudy, not as cold, and a bit of snow tomorrow. High 34. It's 5 above right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump yesterday and media availability with India Prime Minister Modi. He announced it a couple of times during the day, but it was pretty interesting to hear Trump address the reciprocal tariff issue specifically to India, as well as generally in terms of his approach. And here was that offering.
That's what I've done, and so we are being reciprocal with India. Whatever India charges, we charge them. So, frankly, it no longer matters to us that much what they charge, because whatever they charge. I had discussions with India in the first term about the fact that their tariffs were very high, and I was unable to get a concession. So we're just going to do it the easy way, and we're just going to say whatever you charge, we charge. And I think that's fair for the people of the United States, and I think it's actually fair for India. Okay.
It sounds fair. And now, as we've talked to Steve Moore about this, if Trump's use of tariffs as a leverage point to reduce barriers to trade and reduce tariffs on U.S. exports, okay. And this seems to be what happened. His tough talk in the presence of the India Prime Minister led to an agreement, reportedly, to fast-track a trade deal, ramp up U.S. energy and defense sales, and crack down on illegal immigration. In fact, India pledged to buy more U.S. oil, gas, and military equipment, with talks of F-35s now in play, after Trump vowed to match India's tariffs dollar for dollar to ensure, quote-unquote, fair trade. Trump and Modi also discussed sort of Indo-Pacific security issues, and it seems like there is more collaboration vis-a-vis China between the United States and India, and that's a positive development. But is the reciprocal tariff policy, the sort of simplicity it sounds that it sort of confers when you hear it, fair is fair kind of thing, does it belie complexity when it comes to externalities that could be thrown off economically by such a policy? to discuss that with us, we're pleased to be joined by our former colleague, now the founder of the League of American Workers. He writes at stevecortez.substack.com. Steve Cortez, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
You bet. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
Reciprocal tariffs, as one economist, Doug Irwin, writes in an op-ed, there's some problems with that, including it effectively outsources U.S. tariff policy to foreign countries. We're just going to do what you do, and we're going to do to you what you do to us.
Yes. Well, and I would say, though, that's at a minimum, right? Of course, we can do more, particularly to a predatory country like China, which has been abusing American workers and American industry with predatory mercantilist trade policy now for 2.5 decades. So it doesn't mean that would be a minimum, but it means we can do more. But I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with what Trump has done. I think it does, just from a messaging perspective, politically speaking, it makes sense to folks. We found out as a toddler that fair is fair, and that we should the golden rule works in life. Treat people as you want to be treated. But more importantly, economically, what Trump is insisting on is that look, the United States is the consumer envy of the world. Every company, every country on earth wants to have access to the American market. We used to essentially give that away, even to countries who were abusing us in return. And we did it for important reasons, especially during the Cold War, right? That we wanted to build up an alliance, that we wanted the Western world particularly to be strong and prosperous and united because we sort of had bigger fish to fry and we were willing to give economically, even though it didn't really make sense from a negotiation standpoint. With the Cold War over, though, that mentality should have faded away. It didn't, unfortunately. And it's one of the reasons why Trump won. It's one of the reasons why, and won twice now, it's one of the reasons why populism is so ascendant in the United States. I think anybody who takes a rational look at what happened to the United States, particularly after allowing China into the WTO on terms that were incredibly favorable to the Chinese Communist Party, essentially allowing them free, unfettered access to the United States while there was no reciprocity. We did not have the same access at all to China. And it eviscerated American industry. It ruined entire regions of the United States, particularly in your part of the world and in the Midwest. And I think folks took a look at that and said, wait a second, the social cost here was not worth whatever amount of cheap goods we might have gotten at Walmart. And it might have only been cheap in the near-term sense, but not in the larger sense.
Yeah, but there's a lot of ways to get to simplicity. And like I said, maybe this the simplicity of the messaging, as you said, about reciprocal tariffs belies complexity. For example, the Wall Street Journal editorial board opining on this. The harmonized tariff schedule includes some 13,000 codes for different items. So bureaucrats would have to adjust some 2.6 million duties for imports from the world's countries. Businesses would no doubt lobby for exemptions, as some are now doing, for the 25% steel and aluminum tariffs that President Trump announced this week. And so, it sounds elegant in its simplicity, but in terms of the reality of making these adjustments and opening the floodgates to corporate lobbyists to carve out exemptions for preferred businesses and sectors, then is it so simple?
Right. No, listen, I get that. The implementation, I don't think is simple at all. The principle is simple, right? But the implementation can be quite complex. Now, thankfully, with the advent of AI and advanced technology, much of this can be automated, right? But I think more importantly is that, let's say it's so onerous because of the implementation part. If that's the case, most of the onus then, the burden of proof, is going to be on these foreign countries. And why is that? Well, because they need us so much more than we need them. Exports are just not that significant an amount of the American economy, particularly compared to our peers, right? Countries like Japan, China, and Germany, in terms of our economic peers, they only thrive on exports and largely exports to the United States. And so given that reality and given that lack of incentives for the United States to have to rely on exports versus the contrasting view of our economic peers where they absolutely must rely on exports, we have all the leverage. To use an analogy, it's like the United States has been sitting at a global poker game of trade. And by the way, it never was free trade. Okay, that was a chimera. It was never free trade. It's always been managed by big companies and by countries, and largely managed against the interests of American workers. But when we sit down at that poker table of negotiations, the United States has always had a royal flush because everyone needs access to our giant, wealthy consumer market. But we acted forever like we had a pair of eights in our hands. And Trump came along and said, wait a second, you've got to flush. We're going to start playing like it with these other countries. And it just makes sense because, again, they need us so much more than we need them.
Generally speaking, that's true, but there are politically sensitive sectors and businesses where that may be less true. For example, this week, Ford Motor Company CEO Jim Farley said that Trump's 25% across-the-board tariffs on Mexico and Canada would, quote, blow a hole in the U.S. industry that we've never seen. So, all those auto workers that threw in with Trump in the Rust Belt, if all of a sudden some of those impacts are felt downstream in terms of their employment, then you've got a political problem in a sensitive sector, don't you?
Yeah, no, listen, and I will tell you this, by the way, the one place where I didn't agree with starting the tariff situation was with our neighbors, Mexico and Canada, and particularly the Canadian side, because at least with Canada, you have the issue of border enforcement where the Canadian
Well, they're going to be our 51st state pretty soon anyway, so what's the difference?
Well, pretty with us. But in the case of Canada, I just don't buy the idea that they've been really problematic on border issues, right? And thankfully, the northern border in general hasn't been a major problem. I'm not saying there's not issues, there are, but nothing like the southern border. So to me, but look, here's, I think, the bigger point. Because we have essentially voluntarily surrendered, we sort of unilaterally disarmed in terms of trade negotiations for many decades. And again, we had good reasons to do so during the Cold War. We don't any longer. But because of that, rectifying this situation is going to be messy. There's just no way around it. It's sort of like I would actually tie very much to the border situation. In other words, like the deportation operations that we're now commencing, they can get messy and they can be really, really difficult and hard to implement. But we have to do it. Why? Because we were totally derelict before. Same kind of thing here in the economy. I'm not saying that all of it will go smoothly. Now, we can be smart about how we implement it. But the point is, what we want to compel is onshoring back to the United States as much as possible, that the goods and services that we consume here are produced here, and that in terms of the critical goods and services, things like chips and medicines, all of them are consumed here, or are produced here. Not just some of them, but all of them are produced again in the United States, because we certainly found out during the pandemic and during the unfortunate panic to the pandemic, we found out that we were incredibly exposed and dependent upon adversary nations, particularly China, and that can't happen any longer. So how do we compel that onshoring? How do we have a manufacturing renaissance here again in the United States? It's through carrot and stick. I mean, on the carrot side, let's make the conditions wonderful to produce here. On the stick side, let's make sure that there are punitive measures if you don't produce here. I'll give you an example, because you mentioned autos. The American South is dotted with foreign auto manufacturers, both Japanese and German. I'm speaking to you from Chattanooga today. We have a massive Volkswagen plant here. When Volkswagen comes and makes cars in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and sells them all across America, there are no tariffs. So let's have more of that. Now, that's really only happened at scale in the South, because the South also made business conditions terrific for these foreign companies. So that needs to be done, nationwide. But in addition, the punitive side matters. The stick side of that equation matters to tell these foreign countries, hey, if you want to get around the tariffs, it's an easy solution. Come and make it in the United States and employ Americans, and then you're treated just like an American company when you invest here and hire here.
Yeah,
Steve
but what
Cortez.
are the tariffs? Well, real quick, but what are the tariffs on American cars that are trying to be sold in Europe?
Right. Well, no, they're very significant, and that's Trump's point, that we're no longer going to we're no longer going to tolerate what you're doing to us in your countries, and I think that only just again, I think in its simplicity it does make sense. Also, I would say Trump ran on this clearly. Tariffs are polling in a very positive fashion for Trump. People know, just even if they're not really into economics, they just know intrinsically that America's been abused, particularly by China. And I think it's smart policy and good politics.
Steve Cortez, founder of League of American Workers. He writes at stevecortez.substack.com. Steve, thanks as always.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Are you an administrator, staff member, or parent volunteer at a private school? Would you like to grow your current enrollment and welcome new families to your school? If so, we want to tell you about a great opportunity to help increase enrollment and promote your school to families all across Chicagoland. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. They work to connect private schools with new families who are looking for discounted first-year tuition. In exchange, your school will receive a marketing campaign to help grow your enrollment. Chicagoland School Vouchers does all the work to bring new families together with your school and help you expand your reach. They've been working with schools across Chicagoland for over a decade. As the demand for school choice grows here in Illinois, your private school needs to take advantage of this program. To learn more, just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places you can't control. Between payroll, your home office, your tax preparer, and the IRS, if your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on SingleCare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to SingleCare.com or download the free app today.
Knowledge is power, and you deserve to know what happens in your state government. That's why the Center Square's reporting zeroes in on state authorities publishing stories that show where your money goes and who spends it. The Center Square gives power to the taxpayer by tracking politicians' use of the people's money and demanding transparency from state-run agencies. This is how the Center Square equips you, the American taxpayer, to hold your state government accountable. Sign up now for your state's Center Square newsletter at thecentersquare.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There is a place in northern Illinois that people have come from all around the globe seeking treasure.
It's amazing. I didn't know what to expect, but when I got there, I was surrounded by all kinds of gold and silver.
An actual place where you're surrounded by treasure?
I've known that gold and silver were a good investment, but I really didn't want to buy it through the mail. At Fox Valley Coins, I basically walked in, picked out what I wanted, paid cash, and walked out with gold and silver.
Walk in with paper and walk out with actual gold and silver bars. For decades, Fox Valley Coins has traded paper dollars for actual gold and silver. They buy and sell. The treasure map is available at foxvalleycoins.com. They are on Route 59, 1 light north of I-88 in Naperville, Illinois. Again, for info and the map, seek foxvalleycoins.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Trump, Vance, and Hegseth need to get on the same page when it comes to settling the war between Ukraine and Russia, it seems. We'll discuss with Rebecca Koffler, former DIA intelligence officer, at 8:08.
And later, Open Mic Friday. Today it's going to be chilly. Mostly cloudy skies, a high of 26 degrees. It's now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The mayor of a sanctuary city defends working with ICE. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
No matter who you are, if you're hurting innocent people in this city and in this country, you don't have a right to be in our country.
Mayor Eric Adams has upset some of his fellow Democrats in New York, cooperating with federal immigration enforcement, now allowing ICE agents into a New York City jail to target illegal immigrants who've committed crimes. Trump border czar Tom Homan, sitting next to Adams, also tells Fox and Friends.
Getting back to Rikers Island is a game changer. We can get, not only we get the bad guys before they hit the street, the intelligence of how the TDA operates.
Referencing a Venezuelan gang. Now, Mayor Adams also called silly allegations that he's only cooperating with Trump deportations so he can get a federal case against him dropped. The mayor says he was a target of the Biden Justice Department, calling the prosecution
weaponization.
After the U.S. attorney in New York was ordered by the Trump Justice Department to drop the bribery and corruption charges, Danielle Sassoon resigned, along with 5 others at the DOJ. She insists the mayor did break the law. Vice President Vance is at a Munich security conference in Germany. He just said,
"We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them."
Warning some democratic values like free speech are eroding in Europe. Later, the vice president will meet with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, who told reporters he's relying on the U.S. to help stop Russia's war.
They have to be on the side of us because they attacked us.
Vice President Vance told the Wall Street Journal all options are on the table if Russia does not end the war in Ukraine, including sanctions, even U.S. military action. Another setback for DOJ in court.
The Department of Government Efficiency is finding itself in the crosshairs of multiple federal lawsuits. In one case, a federal judge is ordering the Trump administration to temporarily lift its 3-week funding freeze on USAID's foreign aid programs.
Fox's Chanley Painter. Another lawsuit has been filed challenging Elon Musk and DOJ's efforts to get into federal agencies and slash funding as unconstitutional. America's listening to Fox News. 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Holy water main break, Batman. Skokie. It's an alert. Prairie and McCormick. Huge water main break this morning. Huge flooding between Dempster and Gulf Road. Prairie between Church and Gulf. It's a major problem. Cars are flooding out, homes in jeopardy, and it is a big water main break this morning in Skokie, McCormick, and Prairie, especially McCormick between Dempster and Gulf Road. We'll keep our eye on that for you. Meantime, in the loop this morning, several members of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration are being forced out. Mayor's office announcing that Aviation Commissioner Jamie Ray and COPA Accountability Chief Andrea Kirsten were retiring. You may recall this week the mayor warned of mass firings.
If you ain't with us, you just got to go. So now I'm in a position now where I'll be making some decisions in the days to come, because playing nice with other people who ain't about us, it's just a waste of exercise.
Also leaving is Jose Tirado, the director of OEMC, or the 911 Center, after 32 years of service to taxpayers across several mayors. He begins a new job at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office in just a few days. Indiana State Police have issued an arrest warrant after seeing a video of a dog being transported unsecured in an open trailer on a highway. The wanted driver is in custody. 37-year-old Eric McClinton of Lake County, Indiana, arrested yesterday. The man who took the video spotted that dog Tuesday while traveling eastbound on 8094 near Calumet Avenue in Hammond. Chicago sports. White Sox adding 2-time All-Star Joey Gallo, who spent last season with the Nationals, to their spring roster. The Cubs begin full team workouts today. The news, a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. Lower.com equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. It's 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Moderna shares down 4%. The vaccine maker lost more money than expected in the recent quarter, and its forecast for the year is cautious. It made a profit a year ago. Roku shares up more than 14% after it reported a smaller loss. Its overall quarter was better than expected. Roku says streaming hours on the Roku channel jumped 83% from a year ago, reaching households with 145 million people in the U.S. in the period. Luxury brand Hermes continues to see demand for its most expensive products. The French company, which makes the Birkin bag, is reporting higher sales for the holiday season. Hermes is being impacted by the economic slump in China, though it says it's seeing some positive signs in China. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
Hi, AM 560 family. It's Tom Sadeka, founder and CEO of Freedom Chamber, the pro-American business network. I'm reaching out to my fellow Patriot business owners and entrepreneurs. Please join us at freedomchamber.net, along with our co-founders, Job Creators Network, Salem Media, Epoch Times, Patriot Mobile, Old Glory Bank, and other patriotic businesses. We have built this community to unite us to thrive and restore the American dream. Join us and take advantage of great information and intel from our key advisors, exclusive savings for business services, tech, marketing, and advertising. Find a new client or vendor in our growing network. The latest news, our members now have exclusive access to group health plans and cost containment solutions that save big dollars and improve care. And now with a big voice in D.C., together we can impact American small business together for the better. Please join us at freedomchamber.net.
Family life is a crazy adventure filled with love and laughter, but it can also be demanding with work schedules, after-school activities, and trying to remember where you put your keys. It leaves you wondering, where does the time go? With so much going on, it can be easy to lose sight of your family's well-being. Balance of Nature fruits and veggie supplements offer an easy way to get a wide variety of whole food ingredients for your whole family. Don't let a busy schedule get in the way of your family's well-being. Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people pay to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
8:09, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Again, we start in Skokie. Major water main break. Prairie, north and southbound between Church and Gulf shut down. McCormick, north and southbound between Dempster and Gulf, completely shut down. Water everywhere. It is a mess this morning in Skokie. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jams up northbound right at Bryn Mawr. accident, I-57. It's on the outbound side right near I-80, and a car is in the ditch. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny this morning, becoming cloudy later in the day. Snow begins overnight. Anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow could fall. Low of 24. Currently 5 above. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Remember how the last couple of years all we heard from animatronic Anthony Blinken and Jake from the State Department, and of course the big guy was that Ukraine can win and that any sort of cessation in hostilities would be driven by Ukraine. Well, it turns out that what they were saying publicly differed very much from what they were saying privately. So we confirm from an unexpected source, unusual candor from Nancy Cordes, the White House correspondent for CBS News.
Privately, even Biden officials often acknowledge that Ukraine would ultimately have to give up some territory in order to secure a deal to end the war, though those Biden officials usually avoided saying that out loud. Trump officials say they're just being realistic 3 years into this invasion in order to drive both sides to the bargaining table.
Right, and J.D. Vance is writing point on this, although we need Vance and Hegseth and Trump to get on the same page in terms of public comments. It's fine to say publicly what the previous administration was conceding privately, and that concession privately, of course, was not said publicly because it would represent a failure of Biden administration foreign policy. But the problem right now is not exactly clear on where the United States is. And if you're not going to be unified in what you say publicly with respect to key parties, then perhaps don't say it publicly. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saying Wednesday Ukraine couldn't join NATO and that returning to its borders before Russia's first invasion in 2014 is quote-unquote unrealistic. Then Hegseth walked back the NATO point, whether or not Ukraine could join, saying everything's on the table, though Trump said he liked Hegseth's original statement. But in an interview that J.D. Vance gave to the Wall Street Journal about this, he talked about everything being on the table. You heard in Mike Scott's newscast, including military action. Now, you don't get too exercised about that. Of course, his basically just saying everything is on the table because you're not going to publicly disclose what you're willing to concede, and that's what he said. But that certainly takes a much tougher tone than did Hegseth. He also said there are economic tools of leverage. There are, of course, military tools of leverage. There's a whole host of things we could do. But fundamentally, I think the president wants to have a productive negotiation, both with Putin and with Zelensky. So is this the right approach to bring an end to the war in Eastern Europe? For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Rebecca Koffler, former DIA intelligence officer, best-selling author of Putin's Playbook, and host of the Trump's Playbook podcast. Rebecca, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Of course, Dan. Such a pleasure to be here with you, Amy, and your audience.
So give us your analysis of this week's happenings on this front.
Sure. It was President Trump is very clear that he wants to end this war. Unfortunately, he has to contend with the situation that he inherited by the previous administration, which put him in a really, really difficult position. Washington, as well as NATO, we now look like idiots because after 3 years and pumping $200 billion in cash and military hardware into Ukraine, out of which only $71 billion, according to Zelensky himself, came to Ukraine. So where did the rest go? 1,000.
May have to get the Doge boys on that. Yeah.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
1 million men, Russian and Ukrainian, are dead or gravely wounded. We depleted our own weapons arsenal to very dangerous levels by providing it to Ukraine. And now Ukraine is going to potentially get a worse deal than they would have had that war not started. So Team Trump has to be very, very creative, but we don't have leverage, much leverage with Russia. So what President Trump is doing, he is basically redefining the definition of victory. So seemingly he's handing victory to Putin. After all, he's giving Putin 20%. Putin gets to keep 20% of the territory that Russia controls, including Crimea and the Donbass. No NATO membership for Ukraine. That was always Putin's red line. But President Trump is a strategic thinker. He is playing a very long game, and his goal is victory for the U.S. and a long-term peace. And we were literally on a path to World War III because Putin was willing to cross the nuclear threshold over Ukraine because Ukraine is part of Russia's strategic security perimeter on which it relied for centuries for security, like their version of the Monroe Doctrine. And so President Trump, with a stroke of a pen or like with verbally for now, at least he hasn't promised anything in writing to Putin, but he canceled World War III, and that is his ultimate victory. That's what he's after, to preserve U.S. combat potential, to not throw, U.S. forces and Europeans into Putin's nuclear furnace, like Biden was willing to do by authorizing Ukraine to strike Russia, deep inside Russia, with long-range missiles provided by the U.S. So his game plan is completely different. He's playing President Trump a multi-dimensional chess, and we will see how the victory is going to transpire. I'm certain we are going to remain victorious, but it's going to be U.S. victory, not necessarily, Ukraine is going to be preserved. Ukraine is going to be a victory for Ukraine as well.
Well, I mean, it's a diminished Ukraine, and there's no question. So, I mean, these are concessions. I understand your point. He doesn't have leverage in this instance like he has leverage on, the Panama Canal, for example. But what about economic sanctions? I mean, you have people like Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban suggesting that once this armistice is achieved, then Russia will be sort of welcomed back into the community of nations, and he means that specifically economically. Do you think it would be a mistake if there were any concessions made with respect to U.S. sanctions on Russia to give so that Trump retains that discretion because, you don't want Russia's economy to be churning as long as they're doing business the way that they are with China and Iran?
I understand President Trump's economic warfare goals, but sanctions have not worked. They haven't worked since 2014 when the U.S. placed its first sanctions on Russia following Putin's invasion of Crimea. Sanctions were never meant to work for two simple reasons. Reason number one is that Russia's security concerns over Ukraine potentially becoming a NATO member trump its economic concerns. Okay?
Well, no, I understand sanctions didn't stop Putin from doing what he wanted to do, but prospectively, not retrospectively, prospectively.
I got you.
Okay.
So the second point I want to make is Putin has sanction-proofed his economy 7 years prior to the invasion. He has done the following things. He de-dollarized his foreign exchange reserves in favor of the Chinese yuan. He started standing up of the BRICS and the establishment of a new alternative currency to the dollar. He also has beefed up his sovereign wealth fund to an all-time high. And Putin also launched an import substitution program, forcing the domestic production of everything that they need. The military-industrial complex is now working 24/7 in 3 shifts. Also, we have such a minimal trade with Russia that any sanctioned amount is going to be minuscule. So they can threaten that. But there's a reason why Putin appointed an economist without military background as his defense minister. So Putin is also looking long-term. In addition, Putin has been using a shadow fleet of oil tankers to continue trade. Right. He still is trading with India, with China, of course, and he's not putting all his eggs. He's not putting any eggs virtually in Western basket. So, as I said, we're going to need to be very, very creative. And Putin is prepared for a very long war because, for the same reason I just said, it's a red line for him. So it remains to be seen. President Trump is a highly skilled negotiator. They have a good team. They just got an American hostage out. But he's not a magician, right? And the entire 25-century-long policy that Washington has pursued, the idiotic policy that dates back to Bush's time of trying to democratize the Russian former Soviet state, has brought us to this point. And the best that President Trump could do, which he's doing right now, is walk us off of the edge, the Armageddon. Go ahead.
Well, but then, so if the broad outlines of what you just delineated do actually constitute the deal that's cut, then what do you think Trump's posture should be with Russia going forward?
It depends on what we want with Russia. As an intelligence officer, we don't recommend policy. The question is, what is it that we want? Do we want a strategic sort of, not maybe necessarily partnership, but a transactional partnership with Russia, because we can use them as a counterweight to China, because the real threat is China. And that's what I believe President Trump is doing, because China is now winning in Ukraine. How so? It's because China is sitting there and watching how 2 of its top adversaries, and don't be fooled, Russia and China are not strategic partners the way that they're trying to portray that they are. They're actually opponents, and we can get into that in a bit if you'd like. But China is watching 2 of its top adversaries, the United States and Russia, deplete their respective weapons arsenals, especially us. The Russian weapons arsenal keeps, reproducing, again, because Putin transitioned his economy and military on a wartime footing. And so Trump wants to preserve our combat potential, and he wants to use Putin to counteract China. He wants to split that alliance, which is very, very, very dangerous. And that, I believe, is feasible. And on the threat of Russia, of China's threat to Russia, They have a very long border. China's military is growing. They're tripling its nuclear weapons arsenal. And so the concern that the Russians have always had is that Far East, that the Chinese, and there's a lot more Chinese, there's a billion of Chinese, as opposed to the Russians. Their demographics is declining, the Russian, that is. And so I think Putin might be susceptible to Trump's tactics to compel him to stop that war in Ukraine.
Rebecca Koffler, former DIA intelligence officer, best-selling author of Putin's Playbook, and host of the Trump's Playbook podcast. Rebecca Koffler, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Of course, a pleasure.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
For many out on the streets with no address, when the hope dies, it's hard to be found.
You get these people off our streets now.
It's not that simple.
They're human beings. Where are they meant to go?
Homelessness could happen to anyone.
I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Their story is our story.
You never know in life why things work out the way they do. Never give up.
No Address, starring William Baldwin, Ashanti, and Ty Pennington. In theaters February 28th. Get your tickets at noaddressmovie.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, it's that time of the week. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls with comments, compliments, criticisms, concerns, general crack pottery. We take it all. But before we do that, we start, as we do, with turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David?
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys. I heard you talking about it earlier.
You're so romantic.
Vacuum cleaners, toasters, and like treadmills are good presents to give. Practical presents, Anyway,
oh, yeah, that's a real nice gift to give a woman a treadmill. Yeah, right.
So we spent the last week hearing about all these things that Doge has been revealing, as I mentioned last week, and you guys have mentioned all week. The hits just keep coming. You're also seeing whistleblowers come forward with more insight. I saw this woman named Sarah Adams, former CIA agent who was on the Sean Ryan podcast, who claims that a plane would come in weekly to Afghanistan carrying between $40 and $80 million per week. She claims that they would have some of that money would essentially give stipends to the families of Taliban martyrs as a form of welfare. That's right. She claims that the U.S. government's giving money away to the Taliban fighters' families who were killed in the war with the U.S. That sounds above board. And then you've got Lee Zeldin, who you talked about earlier today. The new EPA administrator said that $20 billion in taxpayer money was discovered, laundered into external financial institutions, managed by agents of the Biden administration to finance left-wing non-government organizations. $7 billion of that money was sent to an entity called the Climate United Fund, part of the Green New Deal. And Mr. Zeldin has clawed back that money and referred the case to the Department of Justice. You will see this everywhere and in every department as we're just getting started. I've heard the argument this week on your show saying that $58 million that got released from FEMA to house illegal immigrants in New York is really a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things. And that's true. But $50 million here, $20 billion here, $200 billion there really adds up. And again, when I hear things like $58 million doesn't matter, it incenses me as a taxpayer, especially when you frame the federal deficit of $36 or so trillion translating to $320,000 per taxpayer, meaning if everybody paid $320,000 who paid taxes, we could eliminate that deficit. Are you kidding me? And, people are really starting to react to all this. To your point earlier with the woman complaining on Twitter, I see rants every day of normal people posting their disgust at the fraud and the shenanigans exposed by Doge, and they want to stop paying taxes. I mean, I hear it in normal conversations, and people are generally happy to see this disclosure, and can't understand how the Democrats can continually attack the efforts of DOGE to keep the veil of secrecy in place. Too late, the cat's out of the bag. Think about this. If you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, the one who howls the loudest is the one that got hit. So people are paying attention to those politicians who are running to the podium, outraged by transparency. These same types of politicians had no problem hiring 80,000 IRS agents to go after you and I to squeeze every dime that they can out of us. And now DOGE, with a ragtag group of something like 50 people, is investigating those people and looking into them. Not only are they investigating the flow of money through the various departments like USAID, but they're investigating how so many people in the House and Senate have so much net worth. I mean, a member of Congress makes $174,000 a year, and many of them are worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people who make that range of money, and there's no path for them to have that much success unless they won the lottery. So I think in general, people expected to see the government waste, $100 million here, $20 million there. But as we witness these salaries and high net worth of these elected officials, people want to know what these programs, with these programs they approve, how much of the money is actually going towards whatever the cause is they created versus how much is being kicked back. How are these people who make $174,000 a year worth tens of hundreds of millions? So these people are getting kickbacks. I think that's true. And I think there's a real chance that DOGE has the possibility of being this great uniter here. When they hit everyone in the pocketbook and they're exposed for the thieves that they are, there's got to be some uniting that goes along that front. And the politicians are scared. If you look at some of the articles coming out of D.C., the psychologists and psychiatrists are seeing a major uptick in Trump derangement syndrome, or maybe it's more like counseling sessions to see if some neutral party will think that they'd go to jail for doing whatever it is they did. I'd bet those counseling sessions are filled with fear and dread. We're coming for you. And also, if you look at the Google searches for the term criminal defense attorney is trending and very high in the District of Columbia, and they should be scared. They won't be able to walk down the street soon. It's already happening to the likes of Liz Warren and Maxine Waters, and there's a real thirst out there for justice. Ostensibly, they've been stealing from us for decades, at least to enrich themselves and set an agenda devoid of what we really want. And now we've got some people in there that actually look like they're going to deliver. But I want to say that it has to be deep and lasting. No more slaps on the wrist. We're sick of that. If they stole, they should pay the money back and go to jail. If they committed treason, they should be put to death. Although we're just getting started with all this disclosure, we can't just see it. We need to see that justice. So I look forward to seeing Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, who's already filing charges right here in Illinois and New York this week, start working together, delivering the justice that's been long overdue. And as a nation, we need to see it to ensure we never get in this position again. It'll unite us, and that scares the crap out of them. The future generations need us to keep the pressure on. So every day is a little like Christmas morning as you wonder what's going to be unwrapped today, right? So we live in interesting times. Have a great Valentine's Day and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, David. Speaking of executions on Valentine's Day, we should remember the origin of Valentine's Day. Saint Valentine was executed by Roman Emperor Claudius II because he had outlawed marriage for young men because he believed single guys made better fighters, better soldiers, and it left many couples distraught. So Saint Valentine would secretly marry these couples, and that annoyed Claudius II so much that he had Saint Valentine beheaded. So, and that was in 269 AD. So, just think about Saint Valentine being beheaded when you enjoy your Valentine's dinner tonight.
Yeah, and a lot of people think it's just a Hallmark holiday.
Yeah, the history you don't know. I'm pulling a Frank from Arlington Heights.
I do want to tell you about something real quick before we take phone calls. Clay Travis, he was at University of Chicago politics panel. And
the David Axelrod Institute of Political Skullduggery?
Yeah, he gave a theory on why Dems are losing men.
Men aspire to be bigger, stronger, and faster than we are, almost universally. That's why superheroes are popular. That's why pro athletes are popular. Who is the most masculine Democrat right now in America? Mayor Pete.
Is that a gay joke?
No. Mayor Pete. No, it's just that he's not particularly masculine. Nobody's like, oh, Mayor Pete, he's a badass. Chuck Schumer. Is anybody like, hey, Chuck Schumer holding up an avocado and a beer to talk about the Super Bowl? Is anybody like that trying to grill? Is anybody like, hey, that's a dude I want to hang out with?
But Trump's like a grandpa.
Well, hold on. Yeah. Trump took a bullet in his ear and immediately stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. Every man in America and most of the women out here were impressed by that, even if the women won't admit it. She's shaking her head strong. And second part of this, basically summing it up, Democrats for men are pussies, and Republicans aren't.
Democrats for men
are pussies. There are no masculine men in the Democrat Party right now.
Well, I mean, right. I've been saying that for years. Right. I mean, the most masculine man in the Democrat Party is Rachel Levine, as far as I can tell.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. If you can't get through, keep calling. Or you can also text us on our text line. I'll be monitoring that.
Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Speaking of masculine men in the Democratic Party, I think now is probably the best time to go after Dick Durbin. He's been in office for 30 years as a senator. He's the number 2 guy, and he's 80 years old. I think he can build on the gains of what Trump did in Illinois. And, if you don't win, you can put up a hell of a fight against him. He's going to have to defend all the stuff that the Democrats are doing right now.
Well, it's assuming that he runs again, which is not an assumption I would necessarily make. I think it's more likely than not that he doesn't. But it'll be next up. It'll be the next flim-flammer up, like a Raja Krishnamurthy or a Robin Kelly or a Juliana Stratton or somebody like.
Well, whoever it is, I think. Now is the time to. Continue on the gains that the Republicans made under Trump's election. So the Republicans need to find a good, solid, masculine candidate, or a extremely intelligent, smart, and effective and assertive female candidate that can help build on the gains.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. There's some survey research out. Trump's approval rating right now in Illinois is at 45%, being dragged down by the city. It's 60% south of I-80. It's basically 50-50 in the suburbs. So, he's definitely made progress in Illinois, and to the extent he continues to deliver on some of these core issues that surround public safety and economic security, well, maybe.
Got a great text message. Dan and Amy, remember when the Democrats wanted to see Trump's tax returns and were offended that they were being blocked, but now they're blocking the American public from seeing how government spends money?
Mm-hmm. Dawn in Naperville.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. It almost really seems like to me like Trump's maybe first term was, hey, I kind of think something's going on, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And now he's put his finger on it, and I think his strategy and the way he's doing things is only providing more legitimacy to what he's going to ask for next. Because here's the thing. When it comes to education, I always hear, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough money. Well, first of all, the IDEA was never really meant to be fully funded. It's a civil rights law that was enacted because schools weren't including kids in the classroom and they weren't educating them. So here's what I would say. Whatever money that the DOA is using, or it needs to be allocated so we're looking at children who can't read and we're hiring Orton Gillingham certified interventionists to actually target students who can't read. And we all know who they are. Children on reduced lunch and kids with IEPs. Everybody in the science of reading community knows it. And how about a legal fund for parents who have kids with IEPs who can't afford an attorney? What about that idea? So I'm just so tired of these Democrats. You know what? If you're spending the money, then you come line item by line item and defend it. It's very simple. But I'm tired of hearing all of this chanting when people in your own country are suffering, and that's where people are scratching their head. We've got homeless problem. We've got a crisis in our education system. Why are we spending this money overseas? And if you can't answer that question when we have a crisis here, I don't think you're ever going to win another election, in my opinion. And speaking of there's something going on, can please somebody explain to me why Dick Durbin is blocking a subpoena in regards to that Epstein issue that I heard about in Kash Patel's hearing? What is going on with that?
I think he's reversed course on that. I think he knows he's going to be on the wrong side of that upon Patel's confirmation, and I think he's reversing course. But yeah, why was he doing it for as long as he has? Well, we may hopefully we'll find out when Kash Patel gets his hands on that list and reveals it, and we start to open the books on some of those investigative matters as well. Thanks for the call, Dawn. All right.
No,
we'll give him a shot. The Irish Prime Minister who vacations
Oh,
Mountain Dunes,
happy
Indiana.
Valentine's Crack Pottery Day, you two. You know, my wife's oversexed sister's been in more motel rooms than the Gideon Bible.
Hi-yo.
But, sunshine and rainbows, Amy J. I heard that you were inspecting your stately ranch mansion in some place called Utah, and you were walking along with your 81-year-old mother, and your great Mormon population mistook Mamala for your sister. Is this true?
That's true.
Oh, boy, how ingratiating. Okay. All right, continue.
Well, so much for balance of nature is what I say. I was getting my
She takes
exercise walking along Lake Illinois, pushing the wheelchair of J.B. Lizzo this morning.
Lake Illinois.
The beach elephant in the room, the sitting governor, is more upset than ever. Self-pity, the only pity that really counts. He's dwarfed by Big Orange at his campaign, and he's dwarfed by Governor Haircut. So JB's lost the political initiative. And, you know, he's been lying low this week because they say he paid Michael Madigan $7 million in 2018 in exchange for the speaker's endorsements. I don't know if that's true or not. But as I said, JB, you can be the man with the plan. Think Brigham Young, where Amy was out there. Move past California's Governor Haircut by using your sex appeal on this Valentine's Day, JB. You're too much man for only one woman. So, JB Lizzo, push to legalize polygamy in Illinois. That's the initiative today.
Well, thank you very much, PM. Speaking of getting wheeled around, you know, Senator Freeze Frame there, Mitch McConnell is getting wheeled around these days to vote against Trump cabinet secretary nominees like Gabbard and RFK Jr. and Hegseth.
Yeah.
Trump was asked about McConnell by Klingon Collins when she was finally allowed to talk. I mean, he is really having his way with her. But talk about
well, she's interrupting him all the time.
Well, and also, too, I mean, I don't think he forgets about how he was treated at the town hall that she hosted, that he participated in. You know, it started like this yesterday.
Mr. President, you won the White House in part because of high inflation. If your tariffs make prices go up...
Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please.
We haven't asked you to speak yet. Okay. And then when it was okay for her to speak and she raised the issue of McConnell's antagonism, this was pretty entertaining.
RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that led. He wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even. And that's saying a lot.
Oh, my God. She's brutal.
You could do it even. And that saying that was awesome. Oh, man, I love Klingon Collins getting any member of the D.C. press corps like that getting a comeuppance from Trump. That's fun. And he's right about that, too, by the way. Oh, Mitch McConnell, he raises so much money. Yeah, anybody in that position raises money.
Right.
Such a false attribute that's attributed to incumbents. Roy and Glen Ellen.
Yeah, he is funny, man. I'm wondering if we're changing the morning show music mascot from Amy's favorite song, Eating the Dogs, to Which Side Are You On?
Well, thanks for the call, Roy. I mean, it's a new year, and,
you.
Yeah, and you know, you've got to give the octogenarian Marxists in D.C. their due. They're putting in the work. It's funny. I saw one of these. It wasn't Kara Swisher, but it was some dude. One of those pea hats that Clay Travis was talking about, who suggested that in response to Doge activity, that what we need on the left is for the faces of the Democrat Party and Congress to come out and to protest and to not take this lying down and shine a spotlight on it. And then that guy turned around and said, "You know what? I was wrong. After watching this, it looked like, Jell-O was 30 minutes late at the senior center and there was some sort of revolt in front of the Capitol over it." Yeah, presenting those people, the Maxine Waterses and the Chuck Schumers,
so embarrassing,
and the Lizzie Warren as the face of the party. I mean, that is not winning friends and influencing people. No. Mm-mm.
But that song is catchy. I keep singing it now. Every time we play it, it's stuck in my head for the entire day, Dan.
Instant request.
Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against Doge. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on?
Yeah, well, Pete Seeger couldn't do it any better. Ralph and Wilmette.
Hey, songs go. I'll take that one over. We're not turning back. This week you had the meeting with the glittery people carefully identifying themselves. I was listening to that and I thought, I may be a short, pudgy, gray-haired 6-year-old, but I identify as a 6'1", 29-year-old of 200 buff pounds with a full head of thick chestnut hair with auburn highlights. My pronouns are he, him, and oh my God, no glitter needed. So who's going to be my Valentine?
There you go. All right, Ralph. Good luck with that. Yeah, project that image of yourself, and the women will swoon. I have no doubt. Confidence. You got to have confidence.
Well, you just have to be able to sell it. I mean, if you feel that way, then sell it.
Nick, Northwest Side.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We better hope and pray, and especially the Ukrainians, that Trump doesn't die during his time with the negotiations for Ukraine, because Vance's position is well known as vice president. He said about Ukraine that he could care less about Ukraine either way. Now, what will happen is Putin, I've been accurately calling the shots on these events since the Kiev uprising, and Putin will move in towards the western part, then he's going to get more of these North Koreans coming in, which I was surprised to see that I never expected, and he's going to take over that area. He's got two of the people scared to death already. They call him being friendly to Putin, but Slovenia and Hungary, and they're scared for a good reason. And then who knows what's going to happen, because America is part of NATO, and we just have to hope and pray. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, thanks for the call, Nick. Joanne, Hoffman Estates.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I have to beg you to please not play that song anymore in the morning. I'm not feeling well, and every time I hear it, I have to turn the radio off. Please don't play it anymore.
You're making Amy's making people sick. Yeah,
you're making them sick. You're pressing the button.
You're demanding it, though. All right, go ahead, Joanne. I'm sorry.
I'm begging you. Okay. I'm not demanding anything. I'm begging. Please.
No, I get it. All right. Wow. Thanks for the call. Right. We'll take your health into consideration with our audio choices. Mark, Western Burbs.
Yeah, hey, good morning, all. I was calling about tariffs, and I see them, I think, a little bit differently than maybe I heard from you, Dan. I'd love to hear your response, but I think it moves manufacturers back into the U.S., which then creates jobs. And like your last, I think, guest was saying about Putin has moved all of his production in country, it also provides national security, because now we're able to manufacture again, and we're not relying on, external countries to provide our, the products that we need, medical stuff, et cetera. So, love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, thanks for the call, Mark. I mean, I agree to an extent, as I've voiced before in this long-running debate over tariffs and sort of neo-mercantilist policies that Trump seems to have an affinity for. It's not where I come from. I'm a Bastiat guy, Frederick Bastiat. Read the Law. It's a primer for living in a free society and understanding the nature and the responsibilities of that. But you look at economics through the eye of the consumer. And so, in a theoretical sense, the idea that because a country is punishing its citizens, you should respond by punishing yours, by imposing taxes on them, because that's what it is, doesn't make a lot of economic sense. But I agree in the realpolitik world that we live in, and where you have to be pragmatic with things, that if Trump is, as I've said before, as we had this discussion on Wednesday with Steve Moore, and have had many along those lines, if Trump is able to leverage America's economic power to reduce trade barriers for American goods, to incentivize onshoring of American production, as you mentioned, then I'm open-minded on the topic. But it's a dangerous game because you can overplay your hand and you can get into a situation where you have countries that are erstwhile allies, which trading partners usually are, not exclusively, as we've learned with China, but usually, that where both sides lose. And, the costs of goods and services that people are concerned about now and what is still an inflationary environment, well, you could potentially not have seen anything yet. So I think there are pitfalls, but I understand what Trump is trying to do. And if this is a tool and he's, overselling his willingness to dig in on this for the purpose of making sure other countries understand he's serious, and the net result is trade barriers are reduced, exports are more, there are more markets for American goods, and we enhance our comparative advantage, including with that onshoring piece, then okay. The proof is going to be in the results. But as we talked about with Steve Moore, just a cautionary tale, the steel and aluminum tariffs that Trump imposed in Trump 1.0 did not work, except to punish American consumers.
Yep, and that's what people are worried about.
And remember, tariff policy, going back to the 70s to protect U.S. automakers from foreign competitors, all that did was atrophy that industry. So I say, it's the protectionist policies are the tool of the central planner. Just philosophically for a second. They're the tool of the central planner. And it's the folly of central planning, the idea that a small group of people know better how to regulate the transactions of billions of people than does the free interaction of billions of people. So I always try to start from a philosophical premise and say, is that policy consistent with that philosophy? And if it isn't, then if you're going to use it, you should use it very cautiously and very explicitly, and not you see it as, a hammer for every nail. Mike in Northwest Indiana.
Morning, guys. I think mandatory for kids in high school ought to be Milton Friedman's Free to Choose video series.
Agreed.
Let them cover all the topics. And also, my thoughts on it is I think Trump's using the specter of tariffs, he doesn't like them either, to get more and more countries involved in a free trade zone. Eventually, the whole world will be a free trade zone.
Well, that would be a wonderful occurrence if he is able to make trade more free in the Western world and across the world, then that would be a very happy occurrence. Bill in Waukegan.
Hey, Dan and Amy. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say that out of all the Doge stuff that they identified, I'm still hoping that one can slip underneath the doorway, and that's the trans opera or the trans musical that's going to be held in Guatemala, because I'm still waiting to hear back from my agent on that one.
I think you're going to get the role. Yeah.
Good luck with that, Bill. I did want to make sure people are aware of this, those who are avid golfers like myself. A friend, Barry Cronin, who writes the CDGA magazine, effective January, a change in Illinois law, tax law, took place that makes any person or entity that leases or rents tangible personal property in the ordinary course of its business subject to the Illinois state sales and use tax.
Which means
starting effective January 1 of this year, items rented or leased by golf courses or golf clubs to their members or customers, like golf carts, golf clubs, other items, are subject to sales tax.
Yeah.
And such tax
range
must be collected and remitted monthly. The golf club or golf course would be exempt from paying sales tax on the purchase of the rental items on its lease payments for such items. So, as Barry Cronin writes, if you like taxes, you'll have to appreciate the creativity of Illinois politicians. For the first time, golfers at public courses and private clubs will be required to pay sales tax on riding carts, pull carts, rental clubs, and other rented items. The tax, which applies not only to golf operations but to a wide swath of rented items, flew under the radar as it was contained in a bill of some 1,200 pages approved by the Marxists in the General Assembly and signed by the Marxists in the governor's mansion. Well, that was my sort of parenthetical. But, sales tax on riding carts, pull carts, rental clubs. Maybe that will be like the soda tax of a few years ago and get so many of these well-heeled members of golf clubs and country clubs to pay a little bit more attention and join the revolt.
I mean, taxing the rich is we're going to get them somehow, some way. Oh, golf. Was skiing next?
Well, it's not just taxing the rich. I mean, people playing public courses.
I know.
It's not just rich.
I know, but you country club goers. I got a text message, Dan and Amy. We already have that in Minnesota. Okay.
You have which? The golf tax?
Golf tax, yeah.
The sales tax extended to golf. Yeah. Well, that's. Yeah. Well, we're following down Minnesota into the abyss. I mean, that's not good news. Dare I? Dennis in Crystal Lake.
Dan, Amy.
Oh, my God.
I know Amy ain't going to get this, Dan, but since she can't forget about that broad singing that song, they need to get Arlie Ermy up at the lectern. And every time she says, "What side on Ariane?" Remember when he was smacking Pyle on the side of his cheek because he couldn't remember right from left? That with his gun, they should smack that broad. This is the side you're on. What side? This side! And just keep going back and forth until her cheeks are red as hell.
Okay, Dennis, thank you for the Full Metal Jacket reference of sorts.
Okay. Have a happy Valentine's Day?
So we might have had a morning cocktail or two.
Yeah, or two.
Rich in Indian Head Park.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
I
think that the Democrats should get a special Grammy for the song "Which Side Are You On?" I know after I listen to it, I know which side I'm on, and it's not theirs. You guys have a nice weekend.
Thanks for the call,
Rich. He's so sweet.
Oh,
boy.
Chuck and Delavan. I mean, you can't have a Valentine's Day show without hearing from Chuck and Delavan. This weekend's activities, the state of his love life, all of it.
Well, the state of my love life's over. My girlfriend dumped me on Christmas after 6 years. So now it's...
Wait, I met her.
Yep.
You guys were such a cute couple. No, are you being... Is this for real?
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. She dumped me.
Well, anyway, I know, but why'd she dump you? What did she say? How wait, we need the details. The breakup, what did she say?
She just said that she wanted to find somebody she could spend the rest of her life with, and I'm not it. So anyway, thanks for mentioning my band Slim Flammer. So this weekend it's going to be the D-Light Duo weekend. Tonight, Pier 290. Tomorrow night, Pier 290. So if you're looking for a boyfriend, I'm available, and I'll also be at the Tap Room on Sunday from 2 to 5. So all you girls, just come on up and line up, and we'll see what we can do.
Line up and we'll see what we could do. That's a good line. And all you ladies, thanks for the call, Chuck. Line up for Chuck and see. Boy, she's looking for someone she's spent a life with, and it's not you. Man.
Well, at least she was honest. I got to appreciate her candor, but that's a little during Christmas time too.
It's cold-blooded, man. It's why Dan Proft is single. I couldn't stand that. I'd be crushed. Chuck is resilient.
Well, it took him months to talk to us about it, so at least that's a form of recovery. So good for you, Chuck. Maybe he'll find himself a lady this weekend. All right, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. It's now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
An anti-Musk movement. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I want to welcome you all to the first